Chapter 141. Jiang Chun was furious. Although he had been expelled from the Jiang family, he couldn't say it out loud, right? Could it be that I, Jiang Chun, don't care about my face? Bai Fingyu, Naila Meir. At this moment, Jiang Chen's expression was gloomy, and his voice was incomparably cold. Bai Fingyu and Nayland Meir couldn't help but be shocked when they heard this. This was the first time they had seen Jiang Chen reveal such an expression, and it was also the first time they had heard Jiang Chen speak to them in such a tone. Master, I understand. Understood? Bai Fingyu and Nayland Meir didn't say much, but they knew that their master was really angry. Then, the two of them walked out of the room and walked out of the inn. Ning Buang, Su Qingyun, and Xiao Yixiao followed behind Bai Fingyu. Not long after, the sound of fighting could be heard outside the inn. About 30 breaths later, Bai Fingyu and Nayland Meir returned. They looked at Jiang Chun and found that Jiang Chen's expression was still very ugly. Master, it's all settled, Bai Fingyu said softly. At this moment, she didn't dare to say much. Nayland Meir was also very obedient. She stood silently at the side, but in her heart, she thought that her little master had quite a temper. Where are they? Jiang Chen asked. They're all suppressed. An upper-level king, realm marshal king, a technique king, and Jiang Luyan. Bai Fingyu said, they're outside. Hearing this, Jiang Chun didn't say a word. He got up and walked out of the room. When he saw the three people kneeling in the courtyard, Jiang Chun didn't say a word. He walked a few steps to Jiang Luyan and slapped him. You dare to hit me? Jiang Luyan's eyes widened in disbelief. He was the young master of the Jiang family. In terms of identity and status, he was not inferior to Bai Fingyu. And Jiang Chun was just an abandoned son who had been expelled from the Jiang family. Why wouldn't I dare? Jiang Chun said coldly. You've really brought shame to the Jiang family. Abandoned child. You are not a member of the Jiang family. That martial king angrily shouted. You dare to attack us. Just wait for the wrath of the Jiang family to descend. You won't be able to walk out of Luotian City alive. Shu Wang roared. Hearing this, Jiang Chun chuckled a few times. The power of heaven and earth in his body burst forth, condensing into 3 sharp swords that floated in front of the trio. I won't be able to walk out of Luotian alive? Jiang Chen said coldly. Ha! I only know that none of the 3 of you can leave this courtyard alive today. Don't you dare! Jiang Luyan looked fearless because he firmly believed that Jiang Chen wouldn't dare to kill him. Puff! Puff! However, after 3 consecutive thuds, 3 sharp swords formed by the power of heaven and earth pierced through the glabella of the 3 people and ended their lives. This scene caused Bai Fingyu and the others to be moved. They couldn't believe that Jiang Chun would be so decisive as to kill Jiang Luyan. Jiang Luyan's status is equal to mine. Bai Fingyu frowned and said, if you kill him, the Jiang family won't let you off. I'm afraid that in less than a day, the experts of the Jiang family will arrive here. Nayland Meir said seriously, this matter is very troublesome. Jiang Chen didn't take it to heart. He even looked at the dead Jiang Luyan with contempt and said, who does he think he is? After saying that, Jiang Chen turned and returned to his room. He stayed alone in the room, but he had already sent a message to Mo Xingtian in the dark, asking him to go to solitary North City and ask for help. After all, if no expert came to support them today, they would definitely suffer. Boss is really angry this time. Outside the room, Jiang Luyan sighed. Once he gets angry, he'll cause a big disaster. I've already notified White Emperor City, but it'll take a day for them to arrive. Bai Fingyu was helpless. After all, White Emperor City was too far away. They could only arrive in a day with the help of the transportation array. Otherwise, it would take at least 3 to 5 months just to fly in the air. It would be impossible. There's no martial pavilion in Luotian City. Nayland Meir smiled bitterly. I can't ask for help here. Jiang Luyan and the others couldn't help but fall silent. They didn't dare to open the door and disturb Jiang Chun, but they were worried in their hearts. Miss, there's an upper-level king realm expert in Martial King Mountain who can come and help, Su Qingyun said. We're affiliated with White Emperor City. As long as Miss needs help, Marshal King Mountain will do our best. The same goes for Changle Manor. The three of them expressed their opinions, but Bai Fengyu shook his head and said, Zhang Luyin is the young master of the Zhang family. Killing Zhang Luyin is a serious matter. Do you think the Zhang family will only send a king realm expert? Hearing this, Su Qingyun and the others smiled bitterly and shook their heads. The Zhang family had a deep foundation, and there were many experts in the family. What was a king realm cultivator in their eyes? Therefore, even if the three of them were willing to help, they couldn't. Excuse me, is Jiangchen here? At this moment, a white-haired old man walked in from outside the courtyard. He was leaning on a walking stick, and one of his legs was lame. His face was pale, and his hair was slightly messy, as if he had been through a lot. Even the clothes he was wearing were tattered and tattered. He seemed to be in a very miserable state. Old man, are you looking for my masters? Bai Fengyu asked. He's really here? The old man's turbid eyes suddenly flashed. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Fengyu and the others only felt a gust of wind beside them before the old man disappeared from their sight. The door of Jiang Chen's room, which was originally closed, was now open. So fast! Who is he? At this moment, Jiang Chen and the others were shocked. They hurriedly rushed into the room, thinking that the old man was going to harm Jiang Chen. However, when they entered the room, they saw the old man kneeling in front of Jiang Chen, tears streaming down his face. Young master, I've finally found you. The old man was agitated, and his hands trembled as he said, The patriarch is dead, and the direct bloodline of the Jiang family has been wiped out. Now, you're the only direct bloodline descendant left. The old man lamented. You're Sita Butsai? Jiang Chen recalled the old man's identity from the memories of this body. Situ Butsai, the patriarch of the Situ family. Once, after the Situ family was wiped out, Situ Butsai joined the Jiang family and became the guardian of the Jiang family's direct bloodline. Since then, Situ Butsai had been doing his best to silently protect the Jiang family's direct bloodline. And now, how did you become like this? Jiang Chen helped Situ Butsai up. In his memory, Situ Butsai was tall and sturdy. He was in the prime of his life, and his blood chi was monstrous. He was like a wild beast, and he was called the Situ Wild Beast. But now, Situ Butsai had become so old that even one of his legs was crippled. I'm useless, and I'm unable to protect the Jiang family's direct bloodline. Situ Butsai sighed. Then, he grabbed Jiang Chen's hand and said, The heavens have eyes. I didn't expect that the last direct bloodline descendant is still alive. Chapter 142. Upon hearing Situ Butsai's words, Jiang Chen's heart twitched violently. Although his soul had transmigrated and he was not the original owner of this body, he was still alive. After his soul had transmigrated into this body, Jiang Chen had become one with this body. His memories and emotions had naturally merged as well. In his heart, he had parents in this life, the head of the Jiang family. Initially, he wanted to go back in a dignified manner and make his parents proud. But who would have thought that before he could even meet them, they were gone? Who did it? Jiang Chen asked coldly, the murderous intent in his eyes surging. Previously, Jiang Chen had been angry because of Zhang Luyin, and he had not yet calmed down. Now, upon hearing this, Jiang Chen felt like he was about to explode. The Jiang family's grand elders people. Situ Butsai's face was gloomy. Ever since you and Zhang Lu were expelled, the grand elders people found all sorts of reasons and excuses to remove your father from his position. After that, when I was not around, they secretly made arrangements to exterminate the Jiang family's direct line of descent. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen's pupils constricted, as if there was a raging fire burning in his heart. However, he did not make a sound. After a moment of silence, he said softly, I understand. Situ Butsai was stunned as he stared blankly at Jiang Chen. He did not know what Jiang Chen was thinking. What did the words, I understand, mean? Before Situ Butsai could speak, Jiang Chen suddenly stood up and walked into the courtyard. He waved his hand, indicating for everyone not to come out. He began to set up a formation in the courtyard. The formation patterns condensed and rose into the sky like stars in the sky. The entire inn was enveloped and set up a barrier. From the outside of the inn, there was nothing special about the courtyard. Only the people in the courtyard could see the scene in the courtyard. The formation patterns in the sky turned into stars and soared into the sky. A pillar of light descended from the sky, as if it was connected to the nine heavens' divine realm. Jiang Chun stood in the pillar of light and looked up at the sky. As his eyes opened and closed, there seemed to be a crown floating in the depths of his pupils. "My name is Jiang Chun. My name is Tian Chun," Jiang Chun whispered. His voice was so soft that even Jiang Lu and the others in the room could not hear it. However, in a place infinitely far away from the godless continent, somewhere in the ninth heaven divine realm, a bald man was cultivating. But at this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. He was incomparably excited as he clenched his fists. In his eyes, a strand of hot tears flowed. "Who says men don't cry? My king, you're not dead. Are you coming back?" The bald man was excited. His divine sense burst out like a sun, shining in the sky of the godless continent. That day, the people of godless continent were alarmed. They saw a brilliant sun appear in the sky, believing it to be a miracle. They all prostrated themselves in worship. At the same time, Jiang Chun was very calm. He looked at the radiant sun and whispered, "Divine bestowal." "Honorable king," the bald man spoke in a soft voice. The brilliant sun suddenly exploded and turned into a rain of divine light that filled the sky. It fell on Jiang Chun's body. At this moment, Jiang Chun could feel that there was a terrifying divine power in his body. This was the divine bestowal technique. However, the divine power in his body could only be used once. But for Jiang Chun, it was enough. At this moment, the strange phenomenon in the courtyard disappeared. Jiang Chun turned around and looked at Situ Bukai and the others, saying, "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." Buzz! As soon as his voice fell, Jiang Chun's figure disappeared on the spot. It was as if he had teleported through space. After a few breaths, outside Jiang Chun's door in Qinchuan, a figure landed there. And this person was Jiang Chun. He used his divine power. With a thought, he crossed thousands of mountains and rivers. Bang! With a muffled sound, Jiang Chun attacked. His palm print was like a flood, rushing through the Jiang family's door and breaking through Jiang Chun's protective array. In an instant, the entire Jiang family was alarmed, and several experts appeared one after another. Their bodies flickered with divine light, as if they were gods. They stood in the sky above the Jiang family and looked down at Jiang Chun. "Who is it? How dare you barge into my Jiang family?" 4 people stood in the sky and shouted angrily. One of them was the Jiang family's grand elder, and now he was the Jiang family's patriarch. "Jiang Chun," Jiang Chun said softly. He looked up at the 4 people in the sky and said coldly, "Today, I'm here to collect interest." Boom! As soon as his voice fell, Jiang Chun struck out with his palm. The palm rapidly enlarged in the air, and purple gold vines appeared. The emperor's aura exploded. Under the palm, it was as if the sky was covered, holding the 4 people in his hand. Then Jiang Chun glanced at the 4 people disdainfully. He suddenly closed his palm. Boom! After 4 explosions, Jiang Chun's 4 experts fell, facing Jiang Chun, who temporarily possessed divine power. The 4 of them didn't even have a chance to resist. After killing the 4 people, Jiang Chun's figure flashed and left the place. A few breaths later, in the courtyard of the inn in Luotian City, Jiang Chun returned. As soon as he returned, Jiang Chun spat out blood. His face was pale, and his body swayed for a while before falling to the ground. He was now a human, not a god. How terrifying was the backlash from using divine power? It was lucky that he didn't die. Therefore, it wasn't that Jiang Chun didn't want to destroy the Grand Elder's faction, but that he was powerless. Divine power couldn't exist forever, and it couldn't be used forever. Boss? Master? Young master? At this moment, Bai Fengyu and the others rushed over. When they saw the dying Jiang Chun, they were shocked. They didn't know what Jiang Chun had done, and they didn't have the heart to ask. They only thought about how to save Jiang Chun. "Little you, come quickly." Jiang Chun waved his hand, indicating that he was fine, but he used the contract to summon the 9 Netherworld Phoenix. Hearing this, the 9 Netherworld Phoenix immediately got up. Like a purple streamer, it rushed out of the Tianyuan forest and rushed toward Luotian City. However, the 9 Netherworld Phoenix's strength had not recovered. Even if it rushed at full speed, it would take a few days. For Jiang Chun, the past few days had been a torment. He withdrew his essence, spirit, and qi, and concealed his spirit to preserve his last breath of life. It was like nirvana, like death. This made Bai Fengyu and the others anxious. Boom! At the same time, the inn suddenly exploded. It was smashed by a fist radiance. A man appeared in the air. His gaze was sharp. He was staring at Jiang Chun and his companions in the ruins. If Sita Butsai hadn't intervened, Jiang Chun and the others would have been killed by that punch. Jiang Lingtao. Sita Butsai stood up, his eyes filled with killing intent. Sita Butsai? Jiang Lingtao was surprised. He didn't expect that Situ Butsai, who had disappeared for a long time, would be here. Whoosh! Immediately, Jiang Lingtao's figure flashed, and he fled into the distance. He knew Situ Butsai's strength. Situ Butsai was known as the guardian of the Jiang family, and he wasn't someone he could fight against. Chapter 143. Sita Butsai did not chase after them. After all, Jiang Chun was in the state of nirvana, and it was hard to say whether he was dead or alive. If he left, how could he be at ease with the strength of Jiang Lu and the others? "Let's leave this place first," Sita Butsai said in a low voice. With a wave of his hand, he led Jiang Chun and the others out of Luotian City. The people of Luotian City were shocked and shocked. That was because a storm had been brewing in Luotian City these few days. Just the members of the Jiang clan alone had appeared several times. They had even caused a huge commotion, and even destroyed the inns in the Luo God City with a single punch. What's going on in Luotian City? Why is there such a storm all of a sudden? Who is that group of people? They actually made the Jiang family send out experts one after another. Everyone was puzzled, and even more curious about the identity of Jiang Chen's group. Go and investigate that group's identity. In Luotian City, in the city lord's residence, Luo Tian's face was gloomy. The Jiang family had attacked in Luotian City consecutively. They were clearly looking down on him. Although Luotian City was nothing compared to the Jiang family, Luotian City was backed by the Martial Pavilion. If Jiang Chen really went overboard, Luo Tianhe could only report to the Martial Pavilion headquarters and let them deal with this matter. Will boss be okay? At this moment, in a small town 300 miles away from Luotian City, Jiang Lu and the others were staying in an inn. They surrounded Jiang Chun and did not know why Jiang Chun had become like this. The Grand Elder of the Jiang family and 3 experts from the Grand Elder's faction have been killed. At this moment, Sita Butsai walked in with horror in his eyes. He looked at Jiang Chun, who was in the state of nirvana, and seemed to have realized something. "Who did it?" Bai Fengyu exclaimed. The Jiang family is a big family with a deep foundation. The Grand Elder has become the head of the Jiang family, and his strength is getting stronger. Who killed them? Could it be? This is impossible. At this moment, everyone saw that Situ Bukai's expression was not quite right. In an instant, everyone realized something. "Boss, why are you doing this?" Jiang Lu's eyes were red as he said, "Revenge can be taken slowly, but if you can't hold on, don't jinx it." Bai Fengyu glared at Jiang Lu and said, "Master will definitely be fine." Screech! At this moment, a resonant phoenix cry rang out from Jiang Chen's body. Then, a flame appeared on Jiang Chen's body. Under the raging flames, Jiang Chen's skin was burned red. At the same time, an image of the immortal bird showed up, spreading its wings. Raging flames jumped from it. Many divine lights, along with the flames, engulfed Jiang Chun. This is Boss's Tao spirit. Undying bird! Everyone was shocked and excited. The immortal bird was known as the most tenacious creature in the world. Its nirvana power and fire rebirth technique were not even comparable to the Phoenix clan. And Jiang Chun had the undying bird Tao spirit, which had appeared on its own. This was helping Jiang Chun achieve nirvana and be reborn. Boss! At the same time, a hurried shout came from outside. The 9 Netherworld Phoenix flapped its bare wings and rushed into the room. He did not say anything and forced out his phoenix blood and sent it into Jiang Chen's body. The power of the undying bird and the 9 Netherworld Phoenix's blood essence merged, and a majestic vitality burst out from Jiang Chen's body. Everyone even saw mysterious runes appear on the surface of Jiang Chen's body. At a closer look, they looked like undying birds flapping their wings and flying on Jiang Chen's skin. It also looked like countless 9 Netherworld Phoenixes crying out to the sky. What the F*** CK? It can't be, right? The 9 Serenity's Phoenix opened her eyes wide and stared at Jiang Chun. She cried out in surprise, "A sacred body? What's going on?" Sita Butsai was also confused. He had no idea what had happened to Jiang Chun. Legend has it that when a person bathes in a special blood, he may be cast into a holy body. The 9 Netherworld Phoenix explained, "Boss seems to have bathed in my phoenix blood and formed the 9 Netherworld Phoenix body." The crowd was struck dumb. Looking at Jiang Chun in a daze, they wondered if this was a blessing in disguise. However, the 9 Netherworld Phoenix shook its head and observed Jiang Chun carefully. Then it said with a confused face, "It's not the 9 Netherworld Phoenix body. Explain it clearly." Bai Fingyu said anxiously, "What if something bad happened to Master? What should we do?" "No." The 9 Netherworld Phoenix was a little confused. It stared at the runes on Jiang Chen's skin and said, "It looks like the 9 Netherworld Phoenix body, but it doesn't. Could it be because of the undying bird Tao spirit? Why are you all looking at me?" Suddenly, Jiang Chen opened his eyes. When he saw a group of people looking at him, he couldn't help but blush. Because under the flames, Jiang Chun was now naked. "Boss, how are you feeling? Are you okay? We were worried to death." Everyone was talking at the same time. Their worries were not concealed at all. "I'm fine." Jiang Chun smiled and said, "It was really dangerous. I almost died from the backlash of the divine power." "You had a divine bestowal?" The 9 Netherworld Phoenix exclaimed. It and Jiang Chun had been together for a long time. They had been together since the previous life. Therefore, it knew many secrets and knew where the divine power came from. Moreover, the 9 Netherworld Phoenix knew that Jiang Chun wouldn't use a divine bestowal under normal circumstances. In the previous life, the 9 Netherworld Phoenix had only seen Jiang Chun use a divine bestowal once. "Yes." Jiang Chun nodded and said, "I just went to collect some interest. As for the debt, I'll settle it in the future." "Don't do that." The 9 Netherworld Phoenix reminded him. "Every divine bestowal is accompanied by danger. You were lucky this time. However, if it happens again, I'm afraid that even your Tao soul and I won't be able to save you." "I know." Jiang Chun smiled and said, "It's okay. Don't worry." Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, the power of heaven and earth in Jiang Chen's body suddenly exploded. The stars in the sky shone brightly, as if a huge star had risen in his body. His aura soared at this moment. His cultivation had broken through to the upper level of the zone realm. "It's a blessing in disguise." Jiang Chen smiled and said, "It's just that this body, why does it feel strange? It has the power of the 9 Netherworld Phoenix and the aura of the undying bird." Jiang Chen frowned. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. No matter how knowledgeable Jiang Chen was, he didn't know what kind of divine body he had. It might be a mutation. This divine body shouldn't have appeared before, the 9 Netherworld Phoenix said. After all, not everyone can gather the 9 Netherworld Phoenix and the undying bird. "I'm afraid that you're the first in history." Jiang Chen couldn't help but nod when he heard this. Perhaps this was the first time such a divine body had appeared since ancient times. As for how strong this divine body was and what kind of power it contained, Jiang Chun would have to slowly experience it. Chapter 144. Jiang Chun had gotten his revenge a little. Although he hadn't gotten his revenge completely, at least he felt a lot better. Now, it was time to move on and continue to the Sifang Divine Courtyard. After leaving the small town, Jiang Chun and the others continued to move forward. Before long, they returned to Luotian City. However, before they could enter Luotian City, a terrifying aura exploded. It was as if the power of a god had enveloped 100 miles. Who is that? How terrifying! He's like a god. Everyone was shocked and looked up into the sky. There was a person standing there with flames all over his body. He was like a blazing sun. When his eyes opened and closed, it was as if the sun, moon, and stars were floating. Chuanzuan sect leader, Jiang Chun, it's you, right? At this moment, the person spoke with a cold, murderous look in his eyes. Before Jiang Chun could reply, a hidden entrance pierced toward Jiang Chun like a sharp sword. What's going to come will come. Jiang Chun sighed. He did not even have the chance to lift a finger against such a person. Jiang Chun also knew who the other party was. It was the Martial Pavilion's pavilion master, Luo Tianchong's father, Linlang Wentian. However, Jiang Chun did not expect that Linlang Wentian would personally take action this time. It seemed that he doted on Luo Tianchong very much. How dare you, Linlang Wentian! Suddenly, a few angry roars came from afar. As soon as the voices were heard, 3 people seemed to have traveled through the void and stood in front of Jiang Chun. One of them raised his hand and formed a fist seal, shattering Linlang Wentian's attack. The other 2 rushed up like a giant bird spreading its wings. Let's go. One of them hurriedly said, leave this place. Go to the Sifang Divine Courtyard quickly. It's you, Jiang Chun exclaimed. He did not expect Kuang Runxiao, Yi Minji, and Bega Ho to arrive at this moment. Although Jiang Chun had asked Mo Xingtian to go to Bega City to ask for help, he was not sure if the 3 of them would come to help him. After all, the 3 of them had been concealing their strength and did not want to attract the Martial Pavilion's attention. However, after today, the 3 of them would most likely be exposed. In fact, after today, the Godless Continent would no longer have a place for the 3 of them. Many thanks, Jiang Chun said solemnly. He knew that the 3 of them had done a lot for him. Kill Linlang Wentian. Do you really think you can cover the sky with one hand? At this moment, the 3 of them charged forward, their auras bursting out like true gods. They clashed with Linlang Wentian and fought from the air into the void, disappearing from the place in the blink of an eye. As for Jiang Chun and the others, they didn't dare to stay and hurriedly left. However, before they could get far, another Martial Pavilion expert appeared and blocked Jiang Chun's path. Young master, you go first. The spiritual energy in Situ Butsai's palm turned into a cloud and enveloped Jiang Chun and the others, sending them 1,000 miles away. Situ Butsai's originally hunched body straightened like a strong ancient tree. The turbidity in his eyes disappeared and was replaced by a raging flame and violent intent. Situ Butsai, the guardian of the Jiang family? The Martial Pavilion expert frowned and stared at Situ Butsai. I heard that you died. I didn't expect you to still be alive. Let them go, Situ Butsai said coldly. What if I don't agree? The Martial Pavilion expert frowned. Today, the Pavilion Master will personally take action. He must kill Jiang Chun. If you don't agree, then let's fight. Situ Butsai's eyes were red. As soon as he finished speaking, he attacked. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, the area within 100 miles was filled with rumbling sounds that sounded like endless thunder. 1,000 miles away, Jiang Chun turned back and looked at the distant horizon. It was as if he could see Situ Butsai fighting fiercely. If I don't die, I will destroy the Martial Pavilion in the future, Jiang Chun thought to himself. A ray of light flashed in his eyes. Without turning back, he flew forward. One day later, Jiang Chun passed through Luotian City and entered Qinchuan. The few of them disguised themselves and concealed their auras. They rested in a small town. 2 days later, Jiang Chun and the others finished resting and heard more news. For example, The martial pavilion master, Lin Lang Wentian, was severely injured and had returned to the martial pavilion to recuperate. The guardian of the Jiang family, Sita Butsai, was severely injured but had killed the martial pavilion expert. At the same time, Jiang Chen also knew that Kuang Rinxiao, Yi Mingyi, and Beigo Ho had disappeared. They had evacuated with their families overnight, and Sita Butsai did not look for Jiang Chen. Maybe he was in seclusion to recuperate. Looks like we are not in danger for now, Jiang Chen said softly. The few experts had all suffered serious injuries because of him. Those in seclusion were in seclusion. Those in concealment were in seclusion. Now, no one had the intention to deal with him. Jiang Chen did not dare to stay any longer. He stood up and headed towards the 4 cardinal divine courtyards. But before they could leave Qinchuan, a group of people wearing the Jiang family's clothes intercepted Jiang Chen and the others. In this group of people, the highest cultivation was upper-level King Realm, and the lowest was middle-level King Realm. Their strength was not to be underestimated. Good kid, you actually disguised yourself. If I didn't have the illusion breaker mirror, I wouldn't have found you. These people sneered again and again, feeling very unhappy in their hearts. Ever since Jiang Chen had descended and killed the Great Elder and the other 3, the Jiang family had been in chaos. They had sent out more than 1,000 people, forming more than 10 teams. These few days, they had been searching for Jiang Chen's people without rest. And now, this group of people was the weakest among the dozens of teams. But in their eyes, a group of King Realm cultivators was enough to deal with Jiang Chen's group. We already knew that you had descended before, the leader said contemptuously. Now, you haven't descended. Let's see how you're going to make trouble. You're just ants, Jiang Chen said coldly. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen took a step forward. A cool breeze appeared under his feet, and the Emperor's vine appeared behind him. With a palm strike, it was like thousands of arms. Purple gold light burst out and instantly drowned this group of people. Emperor's vine? Just an abandoned pawn. He actually has such a Tao soul? We can't let him live. He'll be a disaster if we let him live. These King Realm cultivators shouted, and the spiritual power in their bodies continued to erupt. They executed their martial arts techniques one after another, shattering Jiang Chen's palm print. Then a group of people swooped down, and the aura of King Realm cultivators erupted. Palm prints, fist radiance, and sabers and swords danced wildly. Be careful, Jiang Chen said to Bai Fengyu and the rest. A person rushed out, and a black and white light appeared on his body. Heavenly dance of brightness and darkness. With a long roar, the power of heaven and earth turned into black and white swords. Black and white lights swirled around Jiang Chen. As if dancing, the black and white lights surged, and the sword radiance scattered in all directions. Poof! Poof! A series of muffled sounds were heard. Wherever the black and white sword radiance passed, blood bloomed like cherry blossoms. What's more, it was accompanied by many miserable screams. How can this guy be so strong? He's just at the upper zone realm. At this moment, these King Realm cultivators of the Jiang family were terrified and kept retreating. However, how could Jiang Chen let them go? As the saying went, cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Jiang Chen did not want his whereabouts to be exposed. Chapter 145. He held a black and white sword in his hand, and his body flickered with light. When he opened and closed his eyes, the brilliance of the sun and moon shone out from the depths of his pupils. Lunar eclipse, solar eclipse. 2 angry roars came out of Jiang Chen's mouth in succession. Moonlight sprinkled down, and his mind power swept out like a gust of wind. In the distance, a few people who were escaping trembled all over. Their souls seemed to have been struck by invisible lightning. They were intimidated by Jiang Chen's mind power and couldn't move. Immediately after, the sunlight pierced through like a golden long rod, directly crushing these people to death. As he turned around, Jiang Chen struck out with his palm again. The palm print was like a golden rock that soared into the sky. Wherever it passed, everything turned into nothingness. After more than 10 breaths, the group of people from the Jiang family were all killed. Jiang Chun and the others hurriedly continued on their way. However, they had only walked for less than 1,000 miles when angry shouts came from behind them again. Jiang Chun looked back and saw more than 10 experts of the Jiang family flying towards them. Among them, the leader was a low-level venerable above the king realm. "Hurry up and leave." Jiang Chun was shocked. The team they encountered this time was very strong. "Boss, what about you?" Zhang Lu narrowed his eyes and said, "That's a venerable. Let's go." Jiang Chun shouted, "If you don't leave now, you'll have to stay here." Zhang Lu and the others knew that they couldn't help Jiang Chun. They also knew Jiang Chun's temper and character. Immediately, the few of them continued their journey with worried looks on their faces. After a few breaths, when the group of people from the Jiang family arrived near Jiang Chun, the venerable cultivator in the lead said with a cold expression, "Destroy your own cultivation and return to the Jiang family with me to apologize." "Who do you think you are?" Jiang Chun said coldly. "You don't know your place." "Place? Do you still think of yourself as the young master of the Jiang family? In our eyes, you're just an abandoned pawn." The man said contemptuously, "After being expelled from the Jiang family, I didn't expect you to have the tendency to rise. Unfortunately, you don't know how to hide yourself. You're destined to die young." "Die young? Do you have the right to kill me?" Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes. The power of heaven and earth in his body burst forth, and the emperor's vine appeared behind him. Roots pierced the ground, vines soared into the sky, and the emperor's aura erupted. "You're just a zone realm cultivator in the end," the man said disdainfully. "I'm an exalt realm cultivator. Killing you is as easy as lifting my hand." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the man's palm fell through the air. Within the palm print, there seemed to be a dragon roaring, and there was even a mist spreading out. In the space of a few breaths of time, the palm was right in front of Jiang Chun. A flood dragon roared, and the mist transformed into a huge river. Arcane supremacy? Jiang Chun knew that things were not going well. The vines erupted like thousands of arms and struck out. However, as soon as they met, the vines were smashed. Even Jiang Chun was hit by the dragon-like palm print and sent flying. The difference between their realms was too great. Forbidden art. At that moment, Jiang Chun struggled to get up. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and he was about to use the forbidden art. However, suddenly, there was a throbbing in the depths of his soul. An intense pain swept through his entire body, and even his soul. A mouthful of black blood spurted out from Jiang Chun's mouth. His body swayed, and he felt that his soul was about to be torn apart. Oh no! Jiang Chun's heart sank. He had used too many forbidden arts, and his soul could not take it anymore. Then, with such a huge difference in cultivation level, and unable to use any forbidden arts, what should Jiang Chun do? Was he going to die here? "How can I die like this?" Jiang Chun roared in his heart. The sun and moon in his eyes flickered, and the emperor's vine behind him grew like a vine tree. At the same time, a pair of eyes appeared behind the emperor's vine. The left eye was black, and the right eye was white. This was the yin-yang pupil of the sun and moon eyes of the yin-yang pupil. Imprisoned! With a roar, the power of yin and yang exploded from the black and white eyes behind him. Space trembled and distorted. An invisible force exploded and landed on the exalted realm man. "What?" The man was shocked. His entire body was immobilized, as if a mountain was pressing down on him, and he could not move. Even the spiritual energy in his body was being crushed and scattered. As for the group of people behind him, they were unable to endure this pressure, and all of them exploded and died. Whoosh! At the same time, Jiang Chun did not dare to continue fighting. He knew that he could only imprison his opponent, and it would not last for long. Immediately, he turned around and fled in another direction. He did not catch up with Jiang Lu and the others, as he was worried that he would implicate them. All the way to the north, and after crossing a few mountains, Jiang Chun felt extremely tired. Even his soul was in constant pain. The backlash from the forbidden art is too strong. Jiang Chun sighed. His injuries did not seem serious, but in fact his soul was almost torn apart. The wisp of black substance hidden in his soul was the wrath of heaven, left behind after using the forbidden art many times. Now it had erupted. If Jiang Chen's soul was not strong enough and was suppressed by the immortal bird Dao's soul, his soul would have been torn apart just now. Brat! You can't escape. Without waiting for Jiang Chen to rest, the man rushed over again. He seemed to have locked onto Jiang Chen's aura. At this moment, he broke free from the invisible shackles and was already above Jiang Chen's head. An Exalt Realm cultivator could travel 1,000 miles in an instant. I can't escape, Jiang Chun thought to himself. The road to the Four Cardinal Divine Courtyard was really not easy to walk. You don't have to go to the Jiang family to apologize. Die here, the man shouted angrily. Previously, he had been imprisoned by Jiang Chun, a Zone Realm cultivator, which had made him furious. He felt that it was too embarrassing. As he shouted angrily, the vegetation around Jiang Chun grew taller and taller. In just a few breaths' time, a cage made of grass and trees appeared and locked Jiang Chun up. How dare you? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. The immortal bird Dao soul appeared and burned the cage with raging flames. Then, he used the yin-yang eye again and imprisoned the other party. However, this time, the man was on guard. After being imprisoned for a few breaths' time, a mysterious light rushed out from his body. Upon closer inspection, it was a talisman that flickered with lightning and carried a supreme majesty. That was a saint's talisman. Io, wash up and go to sleep. At this moment, Jiang Chen relaxed. The moment he saw the saint's talisman, Jiang Chen knew that he was going to die today. Even if he could use the forbidden art, the other party could easily kill him with a saint's talisman. After all, everyone below the saint was an ant. Die. At this moment, the man's face was cold. He stretched out a finger and turned it into a huge stone pillar. Like a pillar that supported the sky, it descended from the sky and pressed down on Jiang Chen's head. I'm going to die. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. He did not expect to die like this after his rebirth. He was really unwilling. Is this your so-called Tao? However, all of a sudden, everything around them seemed to have stopped. Chapter 146. The stone pillar above his head was less than 3 inches away from Jiang Chun, but it did not fall for a long time. The man at the Zune stage also maintained his posture from a second ago. He did not move at all. Jiang Chun was stunned. He looked around and saw a man in a haze. He could not see his gaze clearly. You are the man formed by the pair of footprints in the 9 palace tomb? Jiang Chun exclaimed. He knew the other party's identity at a glance. You told me before that the so-called Great Tao is invincibility. The man said softly. So now, do you think your Tao is right or wrong? My realm is just a little lower. In the same realm, I am invincible. Jiang Chun said seriously. In the same realm? The man seemed to be mocking Jiang Chun. If you are invincible in the same realm, then why did you fall in the 9 heavens divine realm? Jiang Chun was moved when he heard this. Obviously, the other party knew his identity. Who are you? Jiang Chun said in a deep voice. He felt that the man's identity was beyond his imagination. Invincibility is not the true Great Tao. The man shook his head. At least, invincibility in strength is wrong. Then what is true invincibility? What is the true Great Tao? Jiang Chun asked. I don't know. The man sighed. That's why I asked you. This made Jiang Chun speechless. You don't even know yourself, but you deny my Tao. Is it appropriate? However, Jiang Chun also realized that perhaps the Tao he thought of was really wrong. Or perhaps he was not invincible enough. Otherwise, as the man said, how could a true invincible fall back then? You have obtained the inheritance of my 9 palace temple. You are my successor. I will protect you, but not forever. The man said softly, perhaps this is the only time. Perhaps I can protect you a few more times. It's just that you're a little weak. None of the descendants of my 9 palace shrine are weaker than you. I, I'm weak. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He pointed at his face and confirmed again. Are you sure? Am I weak? The 9 palace shrine was very strong, and Jiangchen had also heard some rumors about it. Even at a certain time in the 9 heavens divine world, the 9 palace shrine could be said to be the strongest, dominating the entire divine world. But so what? Jiangchen did not think that he was weaker than anyone. Weak. However, after the man said those words, he disappeared. At this moment, Jiangchen's expression changed drastically. After the man disappeared, the seal around him was released. The eyes of the man at the Exalt realm flickered. It looked like he was about to release the shackles on his body. F***ck. Didn't you say you would protect me? That's it. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He immediately turned and fled into the distance. There was no other way. He had encountered an Exalt realm expert, and Jiangchen could not use the forbidden technique. If he did not run, he would definitely be killed. Brat, how dare you run? After a few breaths, the Exalt realm expert's angry roar came from behind. He was furious. He was in the Exalt realm, but he had to spend so much effort to deal with Jiangchen, a small cultivator at the upper zone realm. He felt that he was too embarrassed. Why wouldn't I dare to run? Jiangchen did not even turn his head. Wind blew under his feet, as if he was teleporting in the air. Behind him, the Exalt realm expert's face was dark. Violent spiritual energy erupted, and the saint's talisman above his head burned. Buzz! Accompanied by a tremor, a majestic force from the saint's talisman poured into the man's body. In an instant, he seemed to have gone crazy. In an instant, he rushed in front of Jiangchen. It's over. Jiangchen's face fell. Not only was his opponent's cultivation much higher than his, but he also had a saint's talisman. How could he fight him? Now he could not even run away. Die! At this moment, accompanied by a furious roar, the man pressed down with his palm. He did not use any martial techniques. Just because of his cultivation level advantage, he could suppress Jiangchen. Chi! However, at this moment, a soft sound came from the man's body. The saint's talisman above his head shattered and turned into a rain of light. At the same time, the saint's power that rushed into his body receded like the tide and disappeared completely. Jiangchen reacted quickly and moved out. Although he was grazed by the palm print, he was not seriously injured. The saint's talisman is gone? Let's see how you can kill me. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. The biggest threat to him had disappeared. Then, at least he could survive today. At this moment, Jiangchen did not dare to hesitate. After moving out, the immortal bird Dao Soul appeared, and a pair of flaming wings spread out behind his back. Screech! Accompanied by a loud and clear cry, Jiangchen flapped his wings and rushed into the distance like a stream of flame. Runes flickered under his feet. With a step, it was as if he had walked 1,000 miles. The top movement technique of the human clan, shrinking earth into an inch. The man was surprised, and a trace of greed flashed in his eyes. Cultivators of the venerable realm could travel 1,000 miles in a step because of their cultivation level. For ordinary people, if they wanted to travel 1,000 miles in a step, they had to use martial techniques. Among them, the most famous martial techniques were shrinking earth into an inch and so close, yet so far. So close, yet so far had long been lost. Shrinking earth into an inch was controlled by the Zhongzhou dynasty and had never been spread outside. Now, seeing a ready-made shrinking earth into an inch in front of him, no one could remain calm. However, after that, the exalted realm man became furious and extremely sullen. He was extremely fast, but after Jiangchen used shrinking earth into an inch, his speed was not slow either. The distance between the two of them was still 1,000 miles. No matter how hard he chased, he could not catch up to Jiangchen. You're merely at the Grandmaster realm. Let's see how long the spirit energy in your body can last. The man said coldly. How long? Jiangchen did not even turn back and said mockingly, I can last until the end of time. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as he said that, Jiang Chen sped up again and flashed through the air like a stream of light. At this moment, the Exalt Realm man was stunned. He was already at his fastest speed, but he did not expect that Jiang Chen could still increase his speed, shrinking Earth into an inch. As expected of the #1 movement technique of the human clan, I'm going to take it. The man was envious and was unwilling to give up. However, after half an instant's time, he could no longer see Jiang Chen in front of him. Damn it! The man roared furiously and indignantly. He did not expect that the meat in his mouth would be gone, just like that. At the same time, on a small hill 8,000 miles away from the man, Jiang Chen hid under the ground and spread out his mental power to investigate the situation around him. Until half a day later, when he realized that no one had followed him, Jiang Chen could not help but heave a sigh of relief. It's finally fine. Jiang Chen sighed and thought to himself that he still had to quickly increase his cultivation. This time, being able to escape was already a blessing in disguise. Jiang Chen did not think that he would be so lucky next time. Furthermore, the man's talisman suddenly disappeared. This was definitely the man from the 9 Palace Shrine. Otherwise, even if Jiang Chen used shrinking Earth into an inch, he would not be able to escape. And the man from the 9 Palace Shrine had also said that although he would protect Jiang Chen, it might only be this once. What kind of place is this? After leaving Qin Creek. Where is it? Jiang Chen's face suddenly collapsed. He only cared about escaping, and now he was lost. Chapter 147. Half a day later, in a small town called Fengyun, Jiang Chen changed his appearance and came here. After inquiring about the current location, he prepared to leave and continue to the Sifang Divine Institute. However, what made Jiang Chen speechless was that he was getting further and further away from the Sifang Divine Institute. Setting off from Cloudy Town, it would take at least half a month for them to travel through the night without stopping. This time, I'm really far away. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. Young hero, please wait. Suddenly, a young man who was 2 or 3 years older than Jiang Chen walked in front of Jiang Chen. What's the matter? Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes and was on guard. After all, his current situation was very bad. If he was discovered by the Jiang clan, he would most likely be hunted down again. Young hero, are you also going to the Burning Heaven Academy? The young man asked. No. Jiang Chen shook his head and was about to leave. However, the young man seemed unwilling to give up. He chased after him and asked again, Young hero, are you going to the Sifang Divine Institute? What do you want to do? Jiang Chen frowned. What does it have to do with you where I go? If you go to the Sifang Divine Institute, we can go together. The young man smiled. My name is Nian Chang'e, from Tong. Without waiting for Nian Chang'e to finish speaking, Jiang Chen waved his hand impatiently and said, Don't follow me. You won't even know how you died. Jiang Chen didn't know Nian Chang'e and didn't want to harm him. After all, if Nian Chang'e followed Jiang Chen and encountered the Jiang clan, he would probably be implicated. And Nian Chang'e's cultivation was the same as Jiang Chen's, at the upper level of the Zhong realm. If he encountered the experts of the Jiang clan, how could he resist? Nian Chang'e looked like he wanted to say something, but hesitated, his face slightly red. Jiang Chen glanced at him and thought, what's wrong with this young man? Can't he just say what he wants to say like a girl? I just came out of the sect, so I'm not familiar with the outside world. I don't know the way. The young man said awkwardly. I originally thought that I would be able to find people who would be going to the Quadrangle Divine Courtyard with me when I came to Cloudy Town. I didn't expect that they would all be going to the Burning Heaven Academy. If you're not afraid of death, you can follow me, Jiang Chen said in an annoyed tone before leaving. Nian Chang'e stayed in place for a while. After thinking for a while, she didn't say much and followed him. After that, Jiang Chen flew through the air without stopping, and he rushed towards the Quadrangle Divine Institute. 3 days later, Jiang Chen looked at Nian Chang'e, who had been following him, with a strange look on his face. There was something wrong with this guy. Within Jiang Chen's body was a heavenly star. His power of heaven and earth would never dry up. As such, He could travel without stopping and did not have to worry about his power of heaven and earth running out. But what's with this reciting song? After days of traveling, Nien Changa didn't blush at all. Sensing it carefully, the spiritual energy in Nien Changa's body was still abundant. Could this guy have also condensed the heavenly stars? Jiang Chen thought. If that was the case, Jiang Chen wouldn't find it strange. After all, the Nine Carol's heavenly star cultivation technique was widely spread back then, and almost everyone had a copy. But because it was too difficult to cultivate, it led to the decline of this cultivation technique. But some families and sects would still collect the Nine Carol's heavenly star. Young hero, you have great endurance. You've been on the road for 3 days, but your energy is still so exuberant. Nien Changa also looked at Jiang Chen in surprise, scratching his head with a puzzled look. Aren't you the same? Jiang Chen squinted and asked, condensed a heavenly star? Heavenly star? Nien Changa was stunned, then reacted and said, you're talking about the Nine Carol's heavenly star cultivation technique, right? I didn't cultivate that, it's too difficult. As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. Since you didn't condense a heavenly star, then what the hell were you doing for the past 3 days? I'm cultivating my own cultivation technique. Although it's slightly weaker than the Nine Carol's heavenly star, it's not that far off. Nien Changa explained, I'm from Tong. All right, let's continue on our way. Jiang Chen waved his hand, not wanting to continue listening. This made Nien Changa very sad. Couldn't he introduce his own sect? Thinking about how before he came out to train, his master had told him to publicize his own sect. In the inside, it was all tears. Time continued to pass, and Jiang Chen and Nien Changa hurried on their way day and night. Until 3 days later, we're already very far away from Chin Creek. The people of the Jiang family shouldn't be able to catch up, right? Jiang Chen thought, and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then Jiang Chen found a city and planned to go in and rest. Although with the heavenly star, the power of heaven and earth would not be exhausted, but his mental power had to be slowed down. If not, his mental state would be tensed up all day long, and he would go crazy. Boom! Jiang Chen and Nien Changa had just entered the city when they saw 2 youths fighting fiercely. Jiang Chen was originally not interested, but Nien Changa seemed to have never seen the world and hurriedly walked over. Now, not only did he not manage to watch the battle, he was also involved in it. The attacks of the 2 youths were extremely ferocious, and like a gale, it drowned Nien Changa. Although the 2 youths did not do it on purpose, the 2 of you've hit me. After a few breaths, Nien Changa's voice came out from the gale. Then, the gale condensed by spirit power suddenly disappeared. Nien Changa's face was black, and he pointed at his messy hair, saying, isn't this too much? I can't even watch the battle. Are you crazy? Since you saw us fighting, why are you so close to us? And you're blaming us? The 2 youths were also quite speechless, and they really did not know what to say to Nien Changa. Even Jiang Chen covered his head with his hands, wondering what was wrong with Nien Changa. Was she out of her mind? Nien Changa frowned when he heard that, and then he suddenly smiled and said, all right then, you guys continue. As he spoke, he returned to Jiang Chen's side as if nothing had happened. You have nerves? Jiang Chen said in confusion. I'm not fighting anymore. What a bummer. I don't know which academy's disciple he's from, but he's like a fool. The 2 youths glared at Nien Changa. After what he did, the 2 of them were not in the mood to continue fighting. Originally, this matter should have been over. But after hearing their words, Nien Changa said proudly, I'm a disciple of Sifang Academy, and I'm about to report to Sifang Academy. As soon as he said that, Jiang Chen's expression froze, because he saw a trace of coldness in the eyes of the 2 youths. Sifang Academy? You're really gutsy. The 2 youths had strange expressions, and they walked towards Nien Changa with ill intentions. One of them said with a mocking expression, you don't know the relationship between Sifang Academy and Burning Heaven Academy, right? You still dare to announce yourself so openly? I really don't know. Nien Changa shook his head, but he knew that the 2 people in front of him should be disciples of Burning Heaven Academy. Chapter 148. Brothers, come quickly. There are 2 disciples from the Quadrangle Divine Institute here. At this moment, another young man shouted. Then, more than a dozen youths walked over and surrounded Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e. More than a dozen youths were wearing the same robes. They were mainly white with flames tattooed on them, and the word burn was engraved on their backs. What are you doing? Yin Chang'e asked. What do you think? Haha, what a coincidence. We actually met 2 disciples from the Quadrangle Divine Institute here. This group of teenagers had a malicious look on their faces as they laughed. Someone even walked up to Yin Chang'e, poked his chest, and joked, Boy, you're really lucky today. Ha ha ha, you're lucky. 2 of you met a group of us. What are you waiting for? Go. The few of them laughed wildly, and the spiritual energy on their bodies surged like ferocious beasts. Seeing this, Yin Chang'e seemed to have suddenly understood and said woodenly, Oh, you want to bully us? You're right. Someone laughed and threw a punch at Yin Chang'e's face. At the same time, someone also attacked Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun glanced sideways, a cold light flashing in his eyes, and his face was full of contempt. The highest cultivation of this group of disciples from the Burning Heaven Academy was only at the lower level of the King Realm. With such cultivation, how could they bully Jiang Chun? However, before Jiang Chun could make a move, a violent aura erupted from Yin Chang'e's body. It was as if a primordial beast had awakened. As its eyes opened and closed, there was an ancient palace floating. Suppress! Along with a soft shout, everyone felt as if the air had solidified. Their attacks were shattered by an invisible force. Then, this group of people from the Burning Heaven Academy flew out like a kite with a broken string. That's a little powerful. Jiang Chun was surprised. He really didn't expect such a silly person like Yin Chang'e to be so strong. Even those from the Burning Heaven Academy were dumbfounded. A person who looked like a blockhead was actually so powerful. This person beat a group of them. Even those at the lower level of the King Realm were sent flying. Wait a minute. At this moment, Yin Chang'e waved her hand and took out a small booklet from her bosom. She began to read it seriously. Jiang Chun was curious and went over to take a look. With one look, Jiang Chun was dumbfounded on the spot. The booklet was filled with densely packed words and was divided into several paragraphs. For example, in the first paragraph, it was written that during the battle, the domineering opening quote was, Why should we cultivators fear battle? There was another line, Shatter this star, trample this earth. The war is endless. There was also a second paragraph, which also had several paragraphs written on it, but it was used after the battle. At this moment, Yin Chang'e took a few glances and closed the booklet. After a few coughs, she said seriously, I am Zhen Ming. Suppress all enemies. Pooh. When Jiang Chun heard that, he could not help spitting out a mouthful of old blood. He remembered that this was a sentence in the second paragraph of the booklet. King suddenly flipped through this booklet just to say this sentence. Jiang Chun rolled his eyes. He really did not understand what was going on in Yin Chang'e's mind. Hearing this, Yin Chang'e smiled awkwardly and said, Master said that when we go out, we can't be weak. Whether it's in front or behind, before or after a battle, we must be imposing. So, your master gave you such a pretentious booklet? Jiang Chun was speechless. He secretly thought that Yin Chang'e's master was a weirdo. At this moment, the group of people from the Burning Heaven Academy had extremely ugly expressions. A large group of people was defeated by a zone realm cultivator. Moreover, there were so many people watching. This was too embarrassing. Just you wait. Boy, stand here and don't run if you dare. After a few breaths, this group of people stood up one after another. Some of them looked fierce, and it seemed that they would not give up. Jiang Chun's original intention was naturally to leave this place as soon as possible. He did not want to cause any trouble. However, after Yin Chang'e heard these words, he actually flipped open the booklet again. After a few glances, his expression turned serious, and he said loudly, Why should I be afraid of you? Did I meet a freaking clown? Jiang Chun's face was incomparably dark. He said to Yin Chang'e, Then you wait here slowly. I'll leave first. Although this place was already far away from Chin Creek, there was no guarantee that the Jiang family would not chase after them. Jiang Chun did not want to be chased anymore. Did you injure him? However, without waiting for Jiang Chun to leave, a Burning Heaven Academy disciple walked over from afar. He had a slender figure, a straight face, a pair of sharp eyebrows, and seemed to be full of killing intent. In his hand, a 7-foot-long sword flickered with a sharp light. The spirit energy on his body was strong, like a layer of clouds. Middle-level King Realm. Jiang Chen's eyes congealed and glanced at Nian Chang'e, thinking to himself, this time, you should be at a disadvantage, right? However, he really did not know what Nian Chang'e's brain was thinking. He flipped open the booklet again, and after a few glances, he pointed at the other party and said, "Come quickly. Kneel down and submit." Jiang Chun was in a mess. He felt too embarrassed for Wei Divine Institute's disciple, right? The young man walked closer, his eyebrows raised, and said, "Then I will not be merciful. Fight!" Nian Chang'e shouted. Buzz! With that, in the depths of Nian Chang'e's pupils, the ancient palace appeared once again. Following that, the air seemed to have solidified, and there was an obscure fluctuation that pervaded the air. The young man's body suddenly trembled, the sword in his hand fell, and he covered his head with both hands, looking like he was in pain. "Oh, so you are a spirit sense practitioner," Jiang Chun said softly, and finally knew Nian Chang's occupation. Spirit sense practitioners specialized in mental energy. Their physical bodies were not strong, but their mental energy was extremely terrifying. It could be said that they could kill people with a thought. However, Jiang Chun could feel that Nian Chang's mental energy was somewhat special, as if it was mixed with something else. His spiritual energy was far from what a normal divine sense could compare to. Wait a minute, let me see what I should say next. Seeing that the other party was suppressed, Nian Chang'e flipped open the booklet again, and after a few glances, he could not help but shout, "Just an ant." At this moment, the surrounding people could see what Nian Chang'e was looking at. He was looking at pretentious quotes. This guy, is he an idiot? Maybe he is really an idiot, but an idiot with strength. All around, the spectators were also quite speechless, and they pointed at Nian Chang'e. They looked at him as if they were looking at an idiot. Jiang Chun stood beside Nian Chang'e, and at this moment, he also felt his old face burning. It was simply too embarrassing. Only Nian Chang'e did not notice at all, and he looked very satisfied with his performance. Chapter 149. Jiang Chun really couldn't afford to lose face like this. He covered his face and turned around to leave. When Nian Chang'e saw that no one was fighting, she also hurriedly followed up. "I say, why don't you leave by yourself?" Jiang Chun's face darkened. It was really uncomfortable to be with Nian Chang'e. "Don't, we're almost at the Quadrangle Divine Institute," Nian Chang'e said. "With so many disciples of the Burning Heaven Academy here, we must be very close to the Burning Heaven Academy. The Burning Heaven Academy is also very close to the Quadrangle Divine Institute. We should be there soon." Hearing Nian Chang'e's serious analysis, Jiang Chun's heart was about to collapse. Is there a need to be so serious about such a simple matter? Let's go, Jiang Chun whispered. Since he couldn't get rid of Nian Chang'e, he could only let him follow. After all, the two of them had no enmity, so Jiang Chun couldn't attack him. After that, the two of them rested in the city for a while before leaving. As they advanced, they got closer and closer to the Quadrangle Divine Institute. The people of the Jiang family didn't chase after them. They probably couldn't find Jiang Chun and gave up. There are so many people over there. After advancing for about 1,000 miles, the top of a tall mountain in front of them was filled with people. Looking around, there were more than 100 people. Moreover, half of them were disciples of the Burning Heaven Academy. The other half was wearing purple robes with the word Divine embroidered on them. Those are the disciples of the Quadrangle Divine Institute, right? Nian Chang'e said excitedly. That's great. We found the main group. Without them, we can still enter the Quadrangle Divine Institute. Jiang Chun's face darkened. He really wanted to break open Nian Chang'e's head to see what was inside. Jiang Chun originally planned to continue forward. After all, This place was already very close to the Quadrangle Divine Institute. However, Nien Changa pulled Jiang Chun and flew towards the tall mountain. "You like to watch the show so much?" Jiang Chun frowned. "Master said that when we travel outside, we have to see more of the world." Nien Changa said very seriously, "There are many people here. Maybe we can find out some things." "Boring." Jiang Chun pursed his lips. But since he was already here, there was no harm in taking a look. After a few breaths, Jiang Chun and Nien Changa landed on the high mountain and stood on the edge of the cliff, between the disciples of both sides. As for the sudden appearance of Jiang Chun and Nien Changa, the expressions of the people on both sides became strange. There were even a few people who angrily rebuked Jiang Chun and Nien Changa, telling them to leave. "Scram! The divine treasury here belongs to my Sifong Divine Institute." "Bullshit! It was my Burning Heaven Academy that discovered it first." After a few angry rebukes, the people on both sides began to argue with each other, leaving Jiang Chun and Nien Changa aside. "Divine treasure?" Nien Changa's eyes flashed, and she asked curiously, "Which god left it?" "Heavenly Flame, Sovereign. This belongs to my Burning Heaven Academy." A few Burning Heaven Academy disciples said in a deep voice, confronting the people from the Sifong Divine Institute. At the same time, they were wary of Jiang Chun and Nien Changa. "Heavenly Flame, Sovereign?" Jiang Chun was stunned. He thought to himself, "Heavenly Flame can only be considered a heavenly god in the 9 heavens divine realm, right? When did he become a heavenly god?" "Oh, so it's Heavenly Flame's divine treasury." Nien Changa suddenly seemed to have lost interest and said to Jiang Chun, "A divine treasury left behind by a minor god like this is useless." "MHM," Jiang Chun nodded. For the first time, he agreed with Nien Changa's words. However, Jiang Chun was also curious about Nien Changa's background. Ordinary people's faces would be burning when they heard about divine treasures. However, Nien Changa actually despised it. "However, I remember that Heavenly Flame has a martial technique called 3,000 Great Flames." Nien Changa suddenly said, "It's not bad if we can get 3,000 Great Flames." "Oh? 3,000 Great Flames?" Jiang Chun was also interested. Naturally, Jiang Chun knew about 3,000 Great Flames. It was said that it was one of the most powerful fire elemental martial techniques. However, back in the divine realm, Jiang Chun was not familiar with Heavenly Flame. He was too embarrassed to ask for the cultivation method of 3,000 Great Flames. Jiang Chun was not interested in 3,000 Great Flames. However, since he had a few disciples, he could get his hands on it and give it to them. With that thought in mind, Jiang Chun took a step forward. The light of the sun and the moon flashed in his eyes. After carefully inspecting the mountain, he found the exact location of the divine treasury. Jiang Chun immediately struck with his palm. His palm seal was like a sharp blade that directly cut half of the mountain's peak. "What are you doing? How dare you spy on the divine treasury?" Jiang Chun's action caused dissatisfaction between the two academies. A few people walked toward Jiang Chun angrily. Spiritual power surged from their bodies as though they were about to attack. "Don't! We're all family." Nien Changa hurried over and said to the disciples of the 4 cardinal divine halls, "We're also disciples of the 4 cardinal divine halls." "Bullsh *T. Are you trying to lie to us? You two aren't from the 4 cardinal divine halls." Everyone rebuked him angrily. After all, there were not many disciples from the 4 cardinal divine halls, and they all knew each other. Even if they were not familiar with each other, they knew about this person. Moreover, the disciples of the 4 cardinal divine halls had to wear the same uniform. They had to wear it even when they were outside. However, not only had they never seen Jiang Chun and Nien Changa before, but they were also not wearing the uniform of the 4 cardinal divine halls. "We're really disciples of the 4 cardinal divine halls. It's just that we haven't joined yet," Nien Changa explained. "When we arrive at the 4 cardinal divine halls, we'll be considered true disciples of the 4 cardinal divine halls." "Get lost! What nonsense are you spouting? There's still more than half a year before the recruitment of the 4 cardinal divine halls. How can there be new disciples during this time?" Everyone looked at each other coldly. A young king pointed a sword at Jiang Chun and said coldly, "Get lost." When Jiang Chun heard this, he glanced at the young man and said softly, "Do you have the right to tell me to get lost? The sword in my hand will make you understand whether I have the right or not." The young man's face was gloomy. A cold light burst out from his sword, and sword chi swept out like a gale. In an instant, Jiang Chun was drowned by the sword light. I thought you had some ability. I didn't expect that you couldn't even resist." The young man spoke with disdain. Bang! However, as soon as he finished speaking, the sword light that enveloped Jiang Chun suddenly exploded and turned into nothingness. Then they saw Jiang Chun appear in front of them and scathed, "You're just a mere sword king." Jiang Chun raised his brows. His arms shook, and his 5 fingers closed together like a sharp sword. In the next moment, his arms suddenly slashed out, and a sword light that was as dazzling as the sun slashed towards the young man. The sword light flickered with divine light, and there were even raging flames. A scorching aura filled the surroundings. The young man snorted coldly. Naturally, he did not take Jiang Chun's attack seriously. After all, he was a sword king at the lower level of the king realm. On the other hand, Jiang Chun was only at the upper level of the Zhong realm. In the eyes of the young man, the gap between realms was like a chasm that could not be crossed. However, when Jiang Chun's sword light rushed in front of him, the young man's expression suddenly changed drastically. Chapter 150. The sword gleam contained terrifying sword chi and the power of heaven and earth. It was like a yellow dragon rolling in the sword gleam. The young man was shocked and felt the terror of the sword gleam. However, he was too careless. It was too late for him to react now. Boom! Accompanied by an explosion, Jiang Chun's sword gleam landed on the young man's body. The young man was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. Blood splattered along the way. "If you weren't a disciple of the 4 Directions Divine Institute, I would have ended your life with this strike," Jiang Chun said coldly. The people around were shocked. Jiang Chun's sword gleam was still in their minds. As for the young man who had fallen to the ground, his face was pale and his eyes were flickering with shock. "Since you know we're disciples of the 4 Directions Divine Institute, you still dare to attack us? You're quite bold. You're courting death." After a short silence, the disciples of the 4 Directions Divine Institute shouted angrily. A few more King Realm cultivators walked over. Among the 4 King Realm cultivators, one was a technique king and the other 3 were martial kings. In an instant, terrifying spiritual energy erupted. The technique king even used a technique and lightning fell from the sky. "You really don't want to give me face. Do you really think I won't dare to kill you?" Jiang Chun said coldly. "Don't force me. You'll suffer a terrible fate if you touch a disciple of the 4 Directions Divine Institute. You'll pay the price." The 4 of them shouted angrily and ignored Jiang Chun's warning. In the next moment, lightning fell from the sky and the 3 martial kings rushed out. Terrifying spiritual energy wrapped around their bodies like 3 fierce tigers. When Jiang Chun saw this, the brilliance of the sun and moon flickered in his eyes. Buzz! Accompanied by a tremor, a bright moon appeared out of thin air and shattered the lightning in the sky. Then, a huge sun rose into the sky. Raging flames covered the sky like a flaming tornado and drowned the 3 martial kings. Bang! Bang! After a few muffled sounds, the flames disappeared. The 3 martial kings twitched and fell to the ground with charred bodies. And this time, Jiang Chun was still merciful. After all, the quadrangular divine institutes were established by divine spiritual practitioners. These disciples of the quadrangle divine institutes could be considered the disciples and grand disciples of divine spiritual practitioners. Jiang Chun was on good terms with the spiritualists and had a deep relationship with them. Naturally, he would not take their lives. However, after Jiang Chun attacked, the Quadrant Divine Institutes instantly lost 5 people. This made the people of the Burning Heaven Academy extremely happy. Some even clapped their hands and praised, "Fellow Taoist, good move." Huh? Now, let me see how your Four Directions Divine Institute fights with us. However, just as these words fell, Jiangchen couldn't help but glance at the group of people from the Burning Heaven Academy and said, "No need to fight. This divine treasury is mine. I also have a share." Nien Changa hurriedly said, "You! How dare you! Scram!" The people of the Burning Heaven Academy were immediately enraged. In an instant, 3 youngsters at the upper level of the King realm walked out. These 3 people had majestic auras. One was the Saber King, one was the Dark King, and the last one was holding an azure gold brush and drawing in the air. This person was the Painting King. Roar! In 3 breaths, a furious roar sounded out of nowhere. The Painting King's brush fell, and a painting appeared out of thin air. A huge white elephant appeared. Its 4 limbs were like stone pillars, suppressing Jiang Chun. At the same time, the Dark King hid behind Jiang Chun. A dagger as black as ink quietly stabbed toward Jiang Chun's back. The Saber King stood in the distance, waving his long saber. A saber light that was like a crescent moon shot out. "Are you all performing acrobatics?" Jiang Chun said contemptuously. His finger was like a brush, continuously pointing in the air. The power of heaven and earth was as black as ink. In just an instant, a huge cage appeared out of thin air. "Prison drawing ground." Following Jiang Chen's soft shout, this huge cage split into 3. In the blink of an eye, the cage crashed down and imprisoned the 3 of them. As for the white elephant that rushed over, it was destroyed by Jiang Chun with a punch. It turned into spiritual energy and disappeared without a trace. "I'll show mercy to the people from the Four Directions Divine Institutes, but you—" Jiang Chun chuckled, but his eyes gradually turned cold. He said, "If you provoke me again, don't blame me for killing you." However, something that made Jiang Chun speechless and surprised happened. "All of you, attack together. Beat him up. What's with the arrogance? Attack together and kill him." At this moment, the people from the Four Directions Divine Institutes and the Burning Heaven Academy shouted angrily. The 2 schools were originally like fire and water, but now they had joined forces. Immediately, the disciples from both sides rushed toward Jiang Chun in unison. "What the F***CK? Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. He instantly felt that the situation was not good. One had to know that these people were all in the Emperor realm. Jiang Chun wouldn't be able to resist more than 100 King realm practitioners. "Retreat!" Jiang Chun let out a strange cry and ran away. Nien Changa was also covered in cold sweat as she followed closely behind Jiang Chun. Both of them had mastered special movement martial skills. In a few breaths, they had disappeared. F***CK. Who are these 2 brats? Are they disciples of your Four Directions Divine Institute? F***CK. I think they're disciples of your Burning Heaven Academy, right? After Jiang Chun and Nien Changa ran away, the 2 sides quarreled again on the mountain peak. Not long after, a battle broke out. At this moment, Jiang Chun and Nien Changa's faces were covered in cold sweat. Fortunately, they ran quickly, or else they would have been beaten up by the group. "That was an accident." Jiang Chun was slightly embarrassed and said, "I didn't expect that I couldn't intimidate them." "Then I definitely can intimidate them." Nien Changa said, "The Four Directions Divine Institute and Burning Heaven Academy are among the 10 great academies. Their disciples are all proud and arrogant people. You can't intimidate them. I think even the Martial Pavilion can intimidate them." When Jiang Chun heard this, he could not help but nod. He was surprised to find that Nien Changa's words made sense. She was not really a fool. That's true. Even the Martial Pavilion doesn't dare to make a move against the Four Directions Divine Institute. Jiang Chun was relieved. Then, the disciples of the Institute must be confident. How can they be intimidated by me? What should we do? Don't we want the 3,000 great yen? Nien Changa asked, seemingly unwilling to give up. I don't think there's 3,000 great yen in the Heavenly Flames divine treasure, right? Jiang Chun said with a frown. However, since he had encountered it, he had to go and take a look. What if there really was 3,000 great yen? However, When he remembered that there were so many people there, Jiang Chun felt his head swell. Don't you have spiritual force? How about you control it when the time comes? Jiang Chun looked at Nian Changa and said, your spiritual power should be very strong, right? It's not so. Nian Changa's face suddenly turned red. She muttered, is this how it feels to be praised? I feel like my heart is beating wildly. How wonderful. Jiang Chun was speechless. He had encountered a weirdo. Chapter 151. Jiang Chun really couldn't figure out what kind of master he had to be to train such a disciple. However, no matter how stupid Nian Changa was, his strength could still obtain Jiang Chun's recognition. At least, among the people of the same age that Jiang Chun had seen, Nian Changa's mental strength was definitely ranked first. Of course, excluding Jiang Chun, you said. The disciples of Burning Heaven Academy and Four-Way Divine Academies are all on that mountain. Nian Changa frowned and said, if we leave, should they start fighting? It should be. Jiang Chun's eyes flashed and said, let's go take a look again. Let's go. Nian Changa nodded, looking eager to give it a try. Then, the two of them stood up again and slowly approached the mountain. Half a day later, when Jiang Chun and Nian Changa arrived near the mountain, they immediately smelled the smell of blood. Looking around, they saw that the mountain was covered in blood and even corpses. Looking carefully, there were many people lying down or sitting cross-legged, healing their injuries. The number of disciples of the two academies had also decreased by a large amount. They really started fighting, Nian Changa exclaimed, and it's a death battle. Many people died. TSK, TSK, TSK. It seems that the conflict between the two academies is very deep. Jiang Chun said, now, we should be invincible, right? It should be. Nian Changa seemed very modest and said, why don't I give it a try? When Jiang Chun heard this, he looked at Nian Changa with some suspicion and said, you alone? Can you do it? It should be fine. Nian Changa was not sure. After all, there were still many people from the two academies. Although most of them were injured, their realms were high. With so many people, if they attacked at the same time, Nian Changa did not dare to guarantee that he could suppress so many people. However, since he was here, Nian Changa felt that he still had to give it a try. In any case, he had mastered a special movement martial skill. If he couldn't win, he would run. Then, Nian Changa rose into the air and arrived at the mountain peak. As soon as he appeared, the people from both academies immediately became anxious. You still dare to come? F***CK. You want to sit back and reap the benefits after seeing both of us suffer? A group of people shouted angrily. Well, I'll give it a try, Nian Changa said. Give it a try? Try what? The group of people was confused and didn't understand what Nian Changa meant. But in the next second, their expressions changed. It was because Nian Changa waved his hand, and a terrifying spiritual power suddenly burst out. His mental energy was like a tidal wave, surging out and turning into an endless mountain, suppressing everyone. On the spot, some people spat out blood. Their faces were pale as their spiritual energy was impacted. There were even people who fainted, foaming at the mouth and losing consciousnness. Hey, am I so powerful? Nian Changa was stunned. He was surprised to see a group of people suppressed by his spiritual force. Asterisker? Monster? How could a zone realm cultivator possess such terrifying mental strength? Everyone cried out in alarm and fear. They didn't know what Nian Changa would do next. If she killed them all, with that thought in mind, someone begged for mercy and said, fellow Taoist, there's no enmity between us. Please don't do anything rash. Yes. It's all a misunderstanding. Nian Changa was not bothered by their pleas. He chuckled and said, I'm very powerful. Yes, you're very powerful. Powerful. Can you retract your mental energy then? Many people could no longer hold on. Their minds and souls felt as though they were being struck by lightning. It was too unbearable. Some people's souls were even trembling as though they were about to be extinguished. Your mental energy is a little special, At this moment, Jiangchen arrived at the peak of the mountain. He sensed Nian Changa's mental energy and discovered that not only was it powerful, but it also carried a hint of another power. This power was very special. Even Jiangchen did not know what it was called. Hurry up and do it, Nian Changa said. I'll suppress them, but it won't last long. Hurry up and check the divine treasure. See if there's 3,000 great yen. All right, Jiangchen nodded. He already knew the exact location of the divine treasure. He immediately rushed into the mountain. Shortly after, Jiangchen returned. There's no danger inside, Jiangchen said. What about the 3,000 great yen? Nian Changa asked. His face was slightly pale. After all, suppressing so many people at once consumed too much of his mental energy. At this moment, he could barely hold on. MHM, I've got it. Jiangchen nodded and said, let's go. Pooh! As soon as he finished speaking, Nian Changa's body suddenly trembled. He even spat out a mouthful of blood. When Jiangchen saw this, he knew Nian Changa's mental energy was depleted. Jiangchen immediately helped Nian Changa to his feet. They moved, preparing to leave this place. Whiz! However, before they could leave the mountain, a group of people suddenly rose to their feet. Some tactical formation masters of the King Realm weaved Madra one after another. Several tactical formations took shape in an instant, trapping Jiangchen and Nian Changa. Hand over the 3,000 great yen? What a brat! We fought with our lives on the line, but the two of you dare to take advantage of us. If you don't hand over the 3,000 great yen today, don't even think about leaving this place alive. The disciples from both academies shouted angrily. They were furious. Previously, they were suppressed by Nian Changa's mental energy. Now, how could they just watch as Jiangchen took the 3,000 great yen away? If I want to leave, who can stop me? Jiangchen narrowed his eyes. His mental energy surged, and formation veins appeared out of thin air. The formation veins were obscure and profound as they densely covered the air. Then, the formation veins spun like exploding stars, breaking the formations around him. Swoosh! Suddenly, a cold light shot toward him. It was extremely fast, like a bolt of lightning in the dark night. Jiangchen reacted quickly. He moved to the side and dodged the attack. However, Nian Changa was too weak. He could only watch as the cold light pierced through his body. Fresh blood splattered like cherry blossoms. Upon closer inspection, one could see a thumb-sized bloody hole in Nian Changa's chest. Blood was spurting out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Before Jiangchen and Nian Changa could react, a few more cold lights shot toward them. These were the attacks of a few Dark Kings. Naturally, Jiangchen was fearless. He dodged and remained unscathed. At the same time, he wanted to help Nian Changa. However, he discovered that the cold lights were too fast. Moreover, their main target was Nian Changa. Before he could make a move, Nian Changa's body was pierced by the cold lights. Blood kept spurting out, and his life force was weakening. Hurry up and leave, Nian Changa said weakly. I'm going to die today. Although I think you're silly, Jiangchen suddenly smiled and said, You're quite loyal. Of course. Nian Changa smiled weakly and said, Master said that since we came together, we should leave together. If we can't leave together, then I'll have to bring up the rear. Chapter 152. As he spoke, Nian Changa's expression turned serious as he forcefully gathered a wave of mentality. Buzz! The air vibrated and distorted as the invisible mentality exploded. However, this time Nian Changa failed. His mentality was already exhausted and was no longer strong. He could no longer suppress these people. Your master is right. Since we've come together, we should leave together. Jiangchen said softly. However, if you're with me, even if we can't leave together, I'll be the one holding up the rear. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the power of heaven and earth in Jiangchen's body exploded. A purplish-gold emperor's vine appeared behind him. The vines burst out like arms and turned into a cocoon, protecting Nian Changa. Then the light of the sun and moon flashed in Jiang Chen's eyes. An array of moonlight burst out from his eyes. Wherever the moonlight passed, the mentality was like a sharp needle, piercing into everyone's minds. Ah, this guy. What a terrifying mentality. Many people screamed miserably, and they were even more shocked. Previously, Nian Changa's mentality had already frightened them. By then, under Jiang Chen's psychic power, they couldn't resist at all. Poof! However, suddenly, a cold ray of light, like a purple thunderbolt, pierced through the cocoon formed by the Emperor's vine. Immediately after, Nian Changa let out a miserable scream. His life aura was extremely weak, like a candle in the wind. Nian Changa looked like he would die at any time. At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes and expression were completely gloomy. He immediately found the person who had attacked. This person was a king of darkness, and he was at the upper level of the king's realm, and he had a Dao soul. And this Dao soul was even more familiar to Jiang Chen. It was the shadow Dao soul. It's you. Jiang Chen's cold eyes looked at an average-looking young man in the Burning Heaven Academy. He said, "You've changed your appearance? I was careless and didn't notice you." Huh, it's too late now. The young man changed his appearance and revealed his true appearance. This person was Mu Xingyun, a disciple of the Chang'e sect. Back in the Nine Palaces tomb, he had attacked Jiang Chen. Who would have thought that they would meet again here? "You will die miserably," Jiang Chen said coldly. Before Jiang Chen could make a move, Mu Xingyun's body suddenly dimmed. Like a wisp of smoke, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Damn it, Jiang Chen cursed. The person in front of him was actually a shadow. As for Mu Xingyun's real body, it was most likely that he had already run away. The Shadow Dao Spirit had been known as the strongest Dao Spirit of the dark profession since ancient times. Every single person who possessed the Shadow Dao Spirit had become the strongest assassin in the world. Jiang Chen also had a headache. He didn't expect that after his rebirth, he would become an enemy of a dark professional who had a Shadow Dao soul. In that case, he would have to be more careful in the future. At this moment, Jiang Chen's heart was burning with rage. He came over with Nian Changa, and in the end, Nian Changa was seriously injured and her life was in danger. Although Nian Changa was very silly, she had been with Jiang Chen for so long after all. She more or less had some feelings for him. Moreover, Jiang Chen was also involved in today's matter. Mu Xingyun, Burning Heaven Academy. Jiang Chen said coldly, "People of the Four-Way Divine Academies, I'll give you a chance to live. Leave now, and I'll let you off." Who do you think you are? Our Four-Way Divine Academies are one of the 10 great academies. If you go against us, you will die without a doubt. Everyone rebuked angrily. Relying on the foundations of their respective academies, they didn't put Jiang Chen in their eyes. When Jiang Chen heard that, he chuckled and said, "Are the disciples of the Four-Way Divine Academies all so arrogant and ignorant?" After saying that, Jiang Chen seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but ask, "If you kill a fellow disciple, is there a punishment? The weak are prey to the strong. What punishment is there to talk about? Strength speaks." Everyone said. There were even people who had already made a move against Jiang Chen. At the same time, there were also people who made a move against Nian Changa, seemingly wanting to end Nian Changa's life. When Jiang Chen saw the situation, a trace of anger involuntarily flashed across his eyes. Nian Changa was already on the verge of death and posed no threat to these people. Moreover, Nian Changa suppressed them previously, but did not touch them at all. Originally let you all off, but now want to kill Nian Changa instead? In Jiang Chen's eyes, this way of doing things and conducting oneself was slightly lacking. "Then, today all of you will die," Jiang Chen said word by word. In his pupils, the brilliance of the sun and moon erupted. A terrifying surge of mind power, like an invisible storm, unfolded from Jiang Chen's side. Everywhere it passed, the air distorted, and even strong winds appeared out of thin air. The entire mountain peak seemed to be suffused with a berserk aura, and even carried Jiang Chen's fury. "It's so strong." Who the hell are you? At this moment, everyone was horrified. In this wave of mind power, they did not even have the strength to resist. In fact, some people had already fainted, and some people's souls were shattered, dying on the spot. Me? Jiang Chun was indifferent. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, with a trace of mockery and frivolity. He said, I am a god that you can't reach. Poof! Poof! As his voice fell, the mind power became even more violent. The brilliance of the sun and moon seemed to descend from the sky, drowning the place. The sun and moon appeared at the same time, and the brilliance burst forth. Divine light fell like rain, sprinkling on everyone. Screams and wails were incessant. There were even people who vomited blood and fainted, until they were shaken to death by the mind power. At the same time, Jiang Chen's fingers were like ink, drawing in front of him. In a few breaths, a five-clawed golden dragon took shape. Leaping out of the invisible painting, the golden dragon roared, and its 5 claws swept across. Everywhere it passed, life fell. The golden dragon whips its tail swept through the air like a mountain, and all those who were struck by it exploded into a mist of blood. It was like fireworks in a flourishing age, bright and gorgeous. There was sadness in the moment of loneliness. Jiang Chen's heart was unperturbed. As the saying went, those who killed would always be killed. After more than 10 breaths, there were only a dozen people left from the 2 academies on the mountain peak. Those people could be said to be the strongest among the group. They were still holding on bitterly, but they knew in their hearts that if nothing unexpected happened today, they would probably die here. Don't kill. At this moment, Nian Changa's weak voice came from the cocoon formed by the vines. Master said that sparing a life is equivalent to sparing oneself. Hearing this, Jiang Chen could not help but frown and say coldly, They wanted to kill you, but you want to spare them? I'm not dead yet, am I? Nian Changa smiled, but her voice was getting weaker. You are really a fool, Jiang Chen sighed, but he also stopped attacking. Then, he looked at the remaining people coldly and said, The reason why I didn't kill you today is because of him. If there's a next time, I'll take away your lives. With that, Jiang Chen carried Nian Changa on his back and used shrinking earth to an inch, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Chapter 153. How powerful! This person is about the same age as us, and his cultivation base is lower than ours. How can he be so powerful? I'm afraid he can enter the minor Heavenly King ranking. The remaining people felt a lingering fear in their hearts, but they rejoiced. So many people had died here. Those who were still alive felt as though they had gone to the edge of hell. Life and death were in Jiang Chen's hands. He said he would let the people from the 4 cardinal divine halls go. He can't really be a disciple of the 4 cardinal divine halls, can he? Suddenly, someone came to a realization with a strange expression on his face. The people from the 4 cardinal divine halls, in particular, had a grim expression on their faces. If Jiang Chun was really a disciple of the 4 cardinal divine halls, they could have avoided today's incident. However, they had been arrogant from the beginning and had never believed Jiang Chun and Nian Changa's words. If he's really a disciple of the 4 cardinal divine halls, what awaits him after killing so many people here is an extremely cruel punishment. Someone said in a deep voice, the 4 cardinal divine halls don't forbid killing of fellow disciples, but after killing so many, they won't let him go. The heavenly flame divine treasury was still there, and there were still many treasures in it. However, the most precious 3,000 flames have been obtained by Jiang Chun. At this moment, on a small mountain 100 miles away from the mountain, Jiang Chen looked at the dying Nian Changa. He felt terrible. He blamed himself. If he had been firmer and not gone to the mountain and the 3,000 flames, Nian Changa would not have ended up like this. At this moment, Jiang Chun did not know how to save Nian Changa. The 9 Nether Phoenix was not here, and there was no phoenix blood. The power of the undying bird's Tao soul could only help him be reborn. In this way, in this case, who could save Nian Changa? I told you not to follow me. Jiang Chen sighed. Looking at Nian Chang'e, who was as pale as a ghost, he didn't feel good about it. Are we friends? Nian Chang'e asked weakly. Her face was pale, and her pupils were dilated. She looked like she was on the verge of death. When Jiang Chen heard this, his heart suddenly throbbed. Friends? That's right, after being reborn, it seems like I really don't have many friends. Jiang Lu called him Big Brother. Bai Feng Yu and Nailan Meir were his disciples. Mo Xingtian and the others were his servants. In terms of friends, he really didn't have any. Back then, in the Nine Heavens divine world, Jiang Chen had many friends, comrades, and even sworn brothers. But now, it seemed a little lonely. We are friends? Jiang Chen smiled. However, there was a hint of sadness in his smile. Great! After I left the sect, I finally made friends. All of a sudden, Nian Chang'e jumped to her feet energetically. She was very excited. Holding Jiang Chen's hand, she said, We're friends from now on. Jiang Chen's face was full of confusion. Nian Chang'e, who was on the verge of death, suddenly recovered. You? What's the matter? Jiang Chen was stunned. After carefully sensing, he found that Nian Chang'e was not injured at all. Master said that to make friends, you have to use your life to make friends. Nian Chang'e said very seriously, I was just following Master's instructions to test you and see if you can be my friend. Oh, so it's like that? Jiang Chen nodded indifferently and then punched Nian Chang'e's face. If Asterisk King asked you to test me. Are you F Asterisk King looking for death? F Asterisk CK. Next, accompanied by Jiang Chen's roar and cursing, Nian Chang'e was pressed to the ground and beaten violently. Of course, Nian Chang'e wanted to resist, but he did feel guilty in his heart. And the most important thing was that he did resist. In the end, he couldn't beat Jiang Chen. After half an instant's time, Jiang Chen was also tired of beating. Panting, he sat on the ground and said with a black face, Are you comfortable? Do you still want to test me in the future? No, definitely not. Nian Chang'e's face was swollen, and several of his teeth were knocked out. When he spoke, there was wind. Tell me, what's the matter with you? Jiang Chen asked. You were seriously injured before and on the verge of death. How did you suddenly, my Tao spirit? Nian Chang'e smiled and rubbed his face. Then, a light flashed behind him. In the next moment, a huge lotus flower appeared, accompanied by Shen Shi. Every petal was different, and they were covered in obscure runes and runes. It was as if the Tao was born and formed from the heavens. When Jiang Chen saw this Tao spirit, his eyes widened, and he exclaimed, 36 lotus. That's right. Nian Chang'e smiled and said, Tao spirit ranking 5th, commonly known as 36 Tao lotus. No wonder. Jiang Chen suddenly understood. Tao spirit ranking 5th, 36 lotus, also known as 36 Tao lotus. According to legend, it was formed from the purest essence of heaven and earth when the Tao was first formed. In the end, this essence merged with the Tao and was hidden in the vast void in the immaculate netherworld. Only the fated person could awaken this Tao spirit. 36 lotus also had many wonderful uses. According to legend, this Tao spirit had 36 effects. Among them, the most praiseworthy one was the art of resurrection. 36 lotus, the Tao, is hidden in the soul. The petals are different, and the 6 Taos are the same. Jiang Chen said softly, Are you envious? Nian Chang'e raised his eyebrows. Although you are powerful, few people in this world can beat me in terms of Tao spirits. My master also said that I was born. At this moment, Nian Chang'e was talking smugly. He even purposely showed his Tao spirit in all kinds of colors. However, Jiang Chen was very calm. He glanced at Nian Chang'e and said, The 5th rank Tao spirit dares to show off in front of me. With that, Jiang Chen's body shook, and the Emperor's Vine appeared behind him. It's just the Emperor's Vine. Although it's in the top 10, it's still slightly inferior to mine. Nian Chang'e giggled. Stop fooling around. If you're envious, just say it. However, even if I'm envious, I can't help it. It's hard to keep a low profile. Jiangchen was confused. He did not expect Nian Chang'e to have such a side. Perhaps Nian Chang'e would only show such a childish side in front of his friends. I also have, Jiangchen said. With a long cry, the undying bird Tao spirit appeared. This time, Nian Chang'e was dumbfounded. He exclaimed, "Twin Tao spirits. Undying bird?" The undying bird Tao spirit. I can't tell what rank it is. After all, this Tao spirit is very rare, and there is no exact ranking, Jiangchen said. However, compared to your 36 lotus, it's not bad, right? It's not bad, Nian Chang'e muttered. But it's still not good enough, Nian Chang'e was right. The undying bird Tao spirit was powerful, but it was still slightly inferior to the 36 lotus. Chapter 154. When Jiangchen heard this, he didn't mind and agreed with Nian Chang'e's words. "We're friends, right?" Jiangchen said with a smile. Then, "I'll show you something. You have to keep it a secret." "Oh, what is it?" Nian Chang'e was curious and said, "We're friends. I'll definitely keep it a secret." Jiangchen nodded. After chuckling, a green lamp appeared behind him. The green lamp was hazy, accompanied by the sound of the great Tao, and there was a mysterious brilliance circulating. The light was serene, as if it contained endless great Tao. Seeing this, Nian Chang'e exclaimed, "Three Tao spirits? What's going on with you? Are you a monster? Take a closer look," Jiangchen said with a smile that was not a smile. At this moment, Nian Chang'e couldn't help but carefully size up this green lamp. A few breaths later, Nian Chang'e's face was filled with shock as he said, "The first Tao spirit, myriad transformations, heavenly lamp." Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. "What else?" "And it's a lit myriad transformations, heavenly lamp." Nian Chang'e's eyes turned black, and he felt dizzy. It was because there were too many legends about the myriad transformations, heavenly lamp, but from ancient times until now, no one could light it up. This was the most useless Tao spirit, but once it was lit, it would be the strongest. "How is my myriad transformations, heavenly lamp, compared to your 36 lotuses?" Jiangchen said mockingly. "This is my knee, please accept it." Nian Chang'e was very exaggerated. He knelt down with a plop, his face full of confusion and shock. Jiangchen smiled, but didn't say anything. He felt that Nian Chang'e was quite interesting. Although he was a little silly, he was still quite a good person. After that, the two of them chatted for a while before getting up and moving forward. This place was already very close to the quadrangle divine courtyard. Jiangchen and Nian Chang'e hurried on their way. They would be able to arrive in about a day. At the same time, in the quadrangle divine courtyard. The quadrangle divine courtyard was divided into 5 courtyards: outer, middle, inner, earth, and heaven. New students would usually be in the outer courtyard. Only those with outstanding aptitude could make an exception and enter the middle courtyard. Of course, there were also some monstrous figures who could directly enter the inner courtyard. As for the earth court and the heavenly court, they had to go through many rounds of selections before they could enter. Someone had once said that the Quadrangle Divine Institute today was only the beginning. Only by entering the Earth Court could one be considered to have truly entered the Quadrangular Divine Court. As for the Heavenly Court, according to incomplete statistics, there were no more than 10 disciples. Anyone who enters the Heavenly Court is a peerless heaven's favorite. Their abilities can suppress those of the same generation. Today, the Dean of the 4 Cardinal Divine Institute's Inner Court had personally come out to welcome a few people. These people were none other than Jiang Lu and the others. After they arrived at the Quadrangle Divine Institute, they made a report. After mentioning Jiang Chen's name, it attracted the attention of the upper echelons of the Quadrangle Divine Institute. There was no test, nor was there any trouble for them. As soon as the inner courtyard's Grand Elder came out, he sent them to the inner courtyard and arranged for their accommodations. On this day, the disciples of the 4 Directions Divine Institute and the inner and outer courtyards were visibly moved. After all, no one had ever enjoyed such treatment before. Firstly, in the Quadrangular Divine Institute, there was no need to take a test. All one had to do was report their name. Everyone was wondering who this Jiang Chun, that Jiang Liu, and the others had reported was. At the same time, a rumor spread in the Quadrangle Divine Institute. After the people who went to the Heavenly Flames Divine Treasury returned, they spread the news everywhere that a savage person had appeared in the Quadrangle Divine Institute. He was extremely powerful, but he killed his fellow disciples. Now, the upper echelons of the Quadrangle Divine Institute were alarmed and were looking for this person everywhere. Of course, they didn't know that this person was Jiang Chun. There's no such person in the outer courtyard. There's no such person in the inner courtyard either. Half a day later, the dean of the outer courtyard and the dean of the inner courtyard announced at the same time. They couldn't find the person that the disciples were talking about. This shocked many people. Could this person be a heaven's favorite from the earth court? If that was the case, then even if he killed all the disciples outside the Heavenly Flames Divine Treasury, he wouldn't be severely punished. At most, he would be scolded a little. After all, disciples who could enter the earth court were treasures in the eyes of the upper echelons of the Quadrangle Divine Institute. Normally, they couldn't even bear to scold them, let alone punish them. Even if he's an earth court disciple, he should be severely punished for killing so many of his fellow disciples. However, not long after, the dean of the earth court spoke. His attitude was very clear and seemed very fair. This made everyone exclaim in admiration. The dean of the earth court was indeed the most fair and impartial person in the Quadrangle Divine Institute. Many people were thinking about how the earth court would punish him if they found that person. Presumably, he would be severely punished. A day later, outside the Quadrangle Divine Institute, Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e arrived. Jiang Chun heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he reached the Quadrangle Divine Institute, he would be completely safe. Yin Chang'e, on the other hand, was very excited. She kept talking about something, but Jiang Chun couldn't understand. "It's you? F***CK? It's really you?" At this moment, before Jiang Chun could report, a few people outside the mountain gate cried out in surprise. Looking carefully, weren't they the disciples who had returned from the Heavenly Flames Divine Treasury? What a coincidence. Jiang Chun smiled and said, "I'm very happy to be alive to see you. You still dare to come? Umph. Since you're here, you're dead meat." These people said coldly. They hated Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e to the bone. "We're all fellow disciples from now on. What happened in the Heavenly Flames Divine Treasury was an accident." Yin Chang'e explained, "It's your fault for not believing what I said. The Dean of the Earth Court has already said that he's going to punish you severely. Just you wait. Even if you don't die, you'll lose a layer of skin." These people sneered as if they could already see Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e being punished. "What's going on?" Jiang Chun was stunned. He hadn't even entered the Quadrangle Divine Institute, so how could he be punished? Besides, would the Quadrangle Divine Institute really dare to punish him? "I'll go report. You guys stay here and watch them. Don't let them escape," one of them said, and hurriedly left. Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e didn't care at all. They just needed someone to report. "This is the Quadrangle Divine Institute. Do you two still dare to make a move?" "Umph. Now, even if you have 100 guts, you won't dare to make a move, right?" The few youths who were still outside the mountain gate had mocking and provocative expressions on their faces. They were certain that no one would dare to make a move against them here. Moreover, the Dean of the Earth Court had already given the order to severely punish Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e. In this way, who would dare to make a move when they were already in trouble? "You guys can't be like this, right?" Yin Chang'e frowned and said, "If you want to make a move, I'm really not afraid. I've already let you guys off once. You guys don't be too cheap." Jiang Chun said coldly, "Could it be that you guys are begging me to hit you? Please hit me. Kill me. Can you do it?" Chapter 155. These youths were getting more and more arrogant. They were certain that Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e would not dare to make a move. At this moment, Jiang Chun was in a difficult position. He covered his face and said, "I'm really embarrassed to satisfy such an outrageous request." "I'm not embarrassed." Yin Chang'e smiled and said, You're the one who begged me. I didn't want to do it myself. Come on. A short youth had a despicable look on his face. He even hooked his finger at Nyan Changa and said, "Do you dare?" Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, Nyan Changa's pupils constricted, and a terrifying spiritual power erupted. It was as if an invisible mountain was pressing down on the bodies of these people in an instant. For a moment, these people were shocked. They did not expect Nyan Changa to really dare to make a move. At this moment, they were suppressed, and it was difficult for them to even move a finger. Take my returning wind falling leaves style. 9 consecutive palms. Ada! Ada! At this moment, Nyan Changa did not even use his spiritual power. He just walked in front of these people and then punched and kicked them. Jiangchen didn't know what movements he was shouting. Anyway, he didn't know any of them. Until a dozen breaths later, Nyan Changa seemed to be tired and withdrew his spiritual power. Are you courting death? You really dare to make a move? These youths looked at each other angrily. Their noses were bruised, and their faces were swollen with blood. These were all external injuries. They looked very serious, but in fact, they were not serious. However, this was too humiliating. Why don't I dare to make a move? Nyan Changa tilted his head and asked, "You're the one who begged me. Of course, I have to satisfy you." Presumptuous. Nonsense. All of a sudden, an angry voice came from within the mountain gate. Then, a white-haired old man came here with a group of outer disciples. As a disciple of the Sifang Divine Courtyard, how can you be so unruly? The old man rebuked angrily. He waved his hand and pointed at Jiangchun and Nyan Changa. He said to the group of outer disciples beside him, "Take them down. I don't think I can defeat him, right?" Nyan Changa felt weak in his heart. This white-haired old man's cultivation was too high. Even he couldn't see through him. Of course not. Jiangchun pursed his lips and said exasperatedly, "Lower Earth Realm. What are you going to do?" Hearing this, Nyan Changa's face immediately darkened. "Then are we really going to be taken down?" Nyan Changa frowned and said, "We've just arrived at the Quadrangle Divine Institute. Wouldn't this be extremely embarrassing?" As soon as he finished speaking, Jiangchun smiled indifferently. After that, his expression suddenly froze as he stared at the white-haired old man and coldly said, "Try and touch me if you dare. How dare you? Just a mere disciple." The white-haired old man roared furiously and even reported his identity. "I'm the dean of the outer court, so why wouldn't I dare to touch the disciples of the Quadrant Divine Institutes? If you touch me, then I guarantee that you won't even be able to keep your identity as the dean of the outer court." Jiangchen spoke coldly. "You can try if you don't believe me. You're simply causing trouble." The white-haired old man's face was gloomy because he'd never seen a disciple dare to speak to him like this. At the same time, the group of outer court disciples by his side had already charged over. All of them erupted with spirit energy and had already attacked. In the eyes of everyone, Jiangchun and Nyan Changa would definitely not dare resist since the dean of the outer court had personally brought people over. Unfortunately, all of them were wrong. At the instant that this group of outer court disciples attacked, a terrifying spiritual energy erupted from Nyan Changa's side. It was like a shapeless storm that swept out and caused this group of outer court disciples to fall to the ground. A few of them even fainted from the shock. "Both of you! How presumptuous! I'll expel both of you from the Quadrangle Divine Institute." The dean of the outer court berated furiously, and his face was flushed red. He wasn't just furious, he felt extremely embarrassed. Since he'd become the dean of the outer court, there hadn't been a disciple that dared to be so presumptuous before him. Even if it was an Earth Court disciple, they had to be respectful when they met him. "If you attack again, I can remove you from your position as the dean of the outer court with a single word," Jiangchun said coldly. "Suppress." Of course, the dean of the outer court wouldn't believe Jiangchun. With a light shout, an enormous palm print descended from the sky. Bang! Bang! Accompanied by 2 muffled sounds, Jiangchun and Nyan Changa were instantly suppressed. Moreover, They were suppressed on the ground, lying on their backs. This posture was indeed too ugly for Jiang Chun. How embarrassing, Jiang Chun muttered. He blinked his eyes and turned his head with difficulty. He looked at Nian Chang'e and asked, "Do you have any thoughts? Sooner or later, I'll suppress him on the ground too." Nian Chang'e's face darkened as he sighed. "Alas, I've embarrassed my master. That's the lower level of the Earth realm. It's normal that you can't beat him." Jiang Chun curled his lips and said, "Why hasn't anyone come yet?" As soon as he finished speaking, 3 middle-aged men rose into the air from the inner court, Earth Court, and Heaven Court in the deepest part of the 4 cardinal divine courtyards and arrived here in an instant. When everyone saw the 3 of them, their expressions changed drastically. They were even more respectful and prostrated themselves in worship. The deans of the inner court, Earth Court, and Heaven Court have appeared at the same time. What's going on? At this moment, everyone felt that something was amiss. To be able to make the 3 deans appear at the same time, today's matter was probably not simple. Who did it? At this moment, the dean of the inner court shouted angrily with an extremely gloomy expression. He pointed at Jiang Chun and Nian Chang'e on the ground. He looked around and said coldly, "Who suppressed them? Get out here." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expressions changed again, especially the dean of the outer court. He hurriedly walked out and said softly, "It was me." "You?" The dean of the inner court narrowed his eyes and shouted angrily, "How dare you? Who gave you the guts?" At this moment, the dean of the earth court also spoke. He struck out with his palm and directly suppressed the dean of the outer court to the ground. At the same time, the dean of the heaven court waved his hand and helped Jiang Chun and Nian Chang'e up. He said with a smile, "Both of you, I'm really sorry." "Just because you're sorry?" Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows. "I've never been so embarrassed before." That's right. My master said that since we've embarrassed ourselves, we must regain our dignity. Otherwise, we'd be worse off than a cheeky dog," Nian Chang'e said seriously. "Then, what do you 2 plan to do?" the dean of the inner court asked in a gentle voice. He seemed to be very amiable. However, anyone who knew the dean of the inner court knew that this guy was an iron tiger who never smiled. Where did these 2 guys come from? Did you see that? The deans of the 3 deans are so polite to them. Even the iron tiger is smiling at them. That's right. The dean of the heaven court, who hasn't appeared for a few years, has actually appeared. At this moment, everyone was shocked and even terrified. Some people were worried that this matter would implicate them. Chapter 156. "Do as you see fit," Jiang Chun said softly. "In short, I can't lose my face. I can't lose mine either," Nian Chang'e said hurriedly. "This old thing is bullying the strong. If you don't give me an explanation, I'll go back to the sect and tell my master." Even the dean of the heavenly court's expression changed when he heard this. Others might not know which sect Nian Chang'e belonged to, but he knew very well that sect had never appeared and only a few people in the world knew about it. And that sect had a deep foundation. Anyone who walked out of that sect could stir up a storm on the godless continent, and even cause a storm of blood. "Kid, Uncle is here. What are you worried about?" The dean smiled. "Don't worry, Uncle will give you an explanation." "What? Uncle? F***CK? Relative?" At this moment, someone exclaimed in disbelief. The dean of the heavenly court was actually Nian Chang'e's uncle. Even Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. Nian Chang'e, this silly kid, had such a powerful background? "Saint, what do you think should be done?" At this moment, the dean of the heavenly court looked at Jiang Chun again and even changed the way he addressed him. When the word saint came out of his mouth, everyone was moved. The Sifang Divine Court had not had a saint since 1,000 years ago. It was not that the Sifang Divine Court did not confer one, but that no one was qualified to be conferred the title of saint. Although there were geniuses and monsters in the Sifang Divine Court, and they had the ability to suppress their peers. However, they were still a little weak after all. They thought that the Sifong divine court would always be like this and would not confer a saint. They did not expect that there would be a saint now. It's him. Suddenly, someone thought of something. Not long ago, the founder of the Sifong divine court, a spiritual sense user, had sent down a divine decree from the 9 heavens to find a successor. The divine decree clearly stated that the successor would appear in the North Solitary Mountain and the Qingyan town area. This person was the champion of the Sifong Divine Court's promotion tournament. Many people knew about this, and they also knew that the Sifong Divine Court had given the spiritual sense user's inheritance to the stranger who had not entered the Sifong Divine Court yet. Moreover, from that day onward, there were rumors in the Quadrant Divine Institutes that someone had been conferred the title of Holy Son. Now that he thought about it, all of this was related to Jiang Chun. F***ck. It's actually a saint. Oh no. Previously, we even made a move against him, although we didn't beat him. But he won't hold a grudge, right? Many people were shocked and worried. In response, Jiang Chun softly chuckled and said, "Remove him from his position as Dean of the Outer Academy and lock him up to reflect on his mistakes." "All right." The Dean of Tian Yuan nodded. He looked coldly at the Outer Yard Dean and said, "You should be glad. If he had asked for your life, I would have killed you without hesitation." I know I was wrong." The Dean of the Outer Court broke out in cold sweat. When he found out that Jiang Chun was a saint, he knew that he was going to lose today. Fortunately, he was only removed from his position as the principal and was only confined to reflect on his mistakes. "Brat, where's my phone, you?" At this moment, Bai Jiangye flew over. Behind him was a large group of cavalrymen. At a closer look, there were more than 300 cavalrymen, and all of them were Earth Realm elites. They were the cavalrymen of White Sovereign City. Their name was known throughout the world. "Why are you here?" Jiang Chun asked. Then he frowned and said, "I was being chased by someone and let them go first. Now, you should have entered the Quadrant Divine Courtyard, right?" "Really?" Bai Jiangye said in a low voice. Then he rushed into the Quadrant Divine Courtyard. How is this related to the old city governor of White Sovereign City? This brat is so powerful. Everyone was amazed. Even the Dean of the Heavenly Court was surprised. They really didn't expect there to be so many strong people behind Jiang Chun. "Saint, I will bring you into the courtyard first. Tomorrow, we will announce your coronation," the Dean of Tian Yuan said. "There is no need for a coronation. I prefer to keep a low profile." Jiang Chun waved his hand and said, "I will give you the inheritance of a divine spiritual practitioner later." Jiang Chun did not like to keep a high profile. Moreover, the Martial Pavilion and the Jiang family were looking for trouble with him. Even though the Four Directions Divine Institute could protect him, Jiang Chun still wanted to hide his tracks for the time being so that he wouldn't cause any trouble. As the saying went, it was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but difficult to defend against a hidden arrow. Perhaps the Jiang family and the Martial Pavilion would make a move in the dark. At that time, the Quadrant Divine Courtyard might not be able to protect him. "Okay." The Dean of the Heavenly Court nodded. Then the crowd dispersed. Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e were brought into the inner courtyard. The Quadrant Divine Courtyard had rules. No matter who it was, no matter how outstanding their talent was, they had to follow the rules. For example, although Jiang Chun and Yin Chang'e had good statuses and strong strength, they could only enter the inner courtyard first. They could not make an exception. Moreover, Jiang Chun's identity as the saint had not been announced yet. Moreover, the Dean of the Heavenly Court had helped Jiang Chun hide the saint's identity. Previously, the people outside the mountain gate had been ordered to not spread the news. As a result, the people in the Quadrant Divine Courtyard did not know that Jiang Chun had already arrived. The Quadrant Divine Courtyard was very big. There were more than 10 magnificent palaces on the ground. In the air, there were 2 palaces shining with divine light. Those 2 palaces were the Earth Court and the Heavenly Court. The inner courtyard where Jiang Chun was located was on the ground. It was surrounded by green mountains and lush vegetation. There were even cultivation caves for people to live in and cultivate. Jiangchun and Yanchanga were arranged to stay on the sixth mountain peak of the inner courtyard. It just so happened that there were two empty caves here. It's time to improve my cultivation. At this moment, Jiangchun was sitting cross-legged in the cave. Essence chi of heaven and earth circled around him, constantly transforming into the power of heaven and earth. At the same time, his cultivation was steadily improving. At this speed, Jiangchun would be able to break through to the king realm in a few days. With no one disturbing him, Jiangchun focused on cultivating. Time passed slowly. The dean of the heavenly court did not announce Jiangchun's identity as the Holy Son and kept it a secret for him. The disciples of the inner courtyard only knew that two newcomers had arrived and were staying on the sixth mountain. Everything seemed to be very peaceful, until 10 days later. On this day, Jiangchun's heart throbbed. The power in his body turned into one, and his mind power burst forth. His physical body flickered with divine light and flames. It was like the fire of a phoenix, but more like the flames of an immortal bird burning on his body. His aura suddenly rose at this moment, and rumbling sounds came from his body. After 10 days, Jiangchun finally broke through to the king realm. King realms, Jiangchun whispered. As his eyes opened and closed, a wisp of light flashed. Then, Jiangchun quickly searched for cultivation techniques related to the king realm in his mind. Naturally, he still had to cultivate the full supremacy technique. However, Jiangchun also needed the cultivation technique that was most suitable for the king realm. The king realm was called a king. His mind power, blood chi, and even his physical body had undergone a transformation. There was nothing special about this realm, but it was the most special. Chapter 157. The cultivation of the king realm was still the same as before, absorbing the essence energy of heaven and earth for one's own use to hone one's physical body or mental strength. This seemed very ordinary. However, Jiangchun knew that the seemingly ordinary king realm was actually very crucial and important. If one built a good foundation in the king realm, then when one broke through again, one's strength would increase exponentially. One could even obtain special powers because of this. After the king realm was the venerable realm. If one could cultivate to perfection in the king realm, after entering the venerable realm, then it was very likely that one would be blessed by the heavens and obtain some special abilities. Moreover, the strength of those abilities wasn't inferior to Dao Hun's. Therefore, some people who did not have Dao souls suddenly rose after entering the venerable realm. It was because they had obtained some special abilities. Your essence, energy, blood, flesh, bones, and even your soul need to be honed. You need to keep transforming and strengthening. Jiangchun said in a low voice. According to his request, a method appeared in his mind involuntarily. Heavenly Fortune Art. This cultivation technique came from the creation master god of the god realm. Back then, after Jiangchun killed the creation master god, the creation technique fell into his hands. Jiangchun had also comprehended it before and thought that this cultivation technique was definitely one of the best in the king realm. The creation technique created one's own body, using the power of heaven to evolve everything in one's body. It was as if the source of life was cast in one's body. As long as one's life was endless and power was endless, it would transform endlessly. Back then, if Jiangchun had not discovered it in time and killed the creation master god, the divine king position might not have been Jiangchun's if the creation master god continued to transform. First step, condense the source of life. At this moment, Jiangchun focused and circulated the creation technique. Using the power of fantasy, he condensed the source of life in the depths of his soul. However, not long after he started cultivating, when the power of heaven and earth entered the depths of his soul, it was scattered by a black power. Upon closer inspection, it was the power of backlash that remained in his soul after using the forbidden technique many times. This power went against the heavens and was the most intolerable power in the world. It could not be described with words, and it could not be destroyed by ordinary means. It could only be destroyed through the wrath of heaven. However, Jiang Chun did not dare to face the wrath of the heavens. Not to mention, it was the wrath of the heavens after the forbidden technique. But now, if this black energy was not removed, Jiang Chun would not be able to continue his cultivation. Therefore, he couldn't form the spring of life in his soul. Divine retribution definitely can't be transcended. Jiang Chun frowned. Perhaps we can use divine retribution as a substitute. I just don't know how effective it will be. With this thought in mind, Jiang Chun immediately moved to the air above the sixth mountain. The talisman in his hand condensed, and the thunder-guiding talisman rose into the air. Wang! After a few breaths of time, a rumble resounded in the sky, and then a tribulation cloud that was pitch black like ink appeared out of thin air. Violet-colored lightning surged about like lightning snakes that covered the sky as they danced about. Someone is undergoing a tribulation. Who is it? It was at this point that the disciples of the inner courtyard were alarmed and began to walk out to look up into the sky above the sixth mountain. When they saw Jiang Chun, many people were puzzled. This was because it was impossible for ordinary cultivators to attract the heavenly tribulation. Either that, or the people of the demonic path were too cruel to attract the heavenly tribulation. Of course, there were also some extremely powerful geniuses who had extraordinary strength. After breaking through to the next realm, the heavens would also send down the heavenly tribulation to test them. Is this guy very powerful? It seems that he has just broken through to the king realm. There are only 3 people in the inner courtyard who attracted the heavenly tribulation when they broke through to the king realm. This kid, could it be that he is also a monster like those 3 people? While everyone was puzzled, the lightning had already descended. Lightning snakes danced in the sky and wrapped around Jiang Chun's body. A surge of heavenly power filled the air, constantly attacking Jiang Chun's physical body and even his soul. But soon, Jiang Chun's face darkened. Compared to divine retribution, the heavenly tribulation was indeed weaker. After the power of the heavenly tribulation rushed into his soul, it was actually shattered by the black energy. It's useless at all. Jiang Chun sighed and thought to himself, do I really have to transcend divine retribution? However, Jiang Chun was really not confident. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, not far away, there was a series of explosions. Jiang Chun turned around and saw Nian Chang'e standing in the air with a 7-colored tribulation cloud above her head. What a coincidence! You're also transcending the heavenly tribulation. Nian Chang'e seemed very calm. She waved at Jiang Chun and said, Together my ass. Jiang Chun said angrily, who would transcend the heavenly tribulation with others for no reason. Oh, we're friends. Let's share this joy together. Nian Chang'e chuckled and rushed toward Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun really did not expect that Nian Chang'e would be so shameless as to attract the heavenly tribulation. By the time he reacted, he had already been locked on by Nian Chang'e's heavenly tribulation and involved. F***CKU. It's poisonous. Jiang Chun's face darkened. He looked up at the 7-colored tribulation cloud, and the corner of his mouth twitched. This was the 7-colored lightning tribulation, one of the most powerful among the heavenly tribulations. Many geniuses died under the 7-colored lightning tribulation. Although Jiang Chun was confident of transcending it, he would also have to suffer physical pain. After transcending the 7-colored tribulation, I'll slowly deal with you. Jiang Chun said coldly, You're getting bolder and bolder. So beautiful. Nian Chang'e directly ignored Jiang Chun's words and looked up at the 7-colored tribulation cloud in the sky, as if admiring it. This made Jiang Chun very helpless. He really did not know what was in Nian Chang'e's mind. When others transcended the tribulation, there was a slim chance of survival, and they were afraid that they could not transcend it. But Nian Chang'e was not worried at all. She was actually admiring the tribulation cloud. Jiang Chun didn't even need to support a wall. He admired Nian Chang'e. Boom! The 7-colored lightning fell. It was gorgeous and colorful, but it carried terrifying might and power. Jiang Qin's face was gloomy. The power of heaven and earth outside his body turned into a shield, barely managing to defend. On the other hand, Yin Chang'e was very relaxed. 36 lotuses appeared, and lotuses grew everywhere. A lotus leaf swayed with an obscure light. Divine light sprinkled down like a rain of light, blocking the seven-colored lightning outside. You! Jiang Qin stared. He did not expect the 36 lotuses to have such an ability. 36 kinds of abilities. Just transcending a heavenly tribulation is as simple as eating. Yin Chang'e giggled and said, "Why don't you use the myriad transformations heavenly lamp? Are you crazy? So many people are watching. How can I use it?" Jiang Qin said crossly. The myriad transformations heavenly lamp was his greatest trump card. Unless it was a last resort, how could he use it? Then take your time, Yin Chang'e said with a smile. After the lotus leaf erupted with multicolored light, it actually left directly. Even the heavenly tribulation could not lock onto him. Just like this, what was originally Yin Chang'e's heavenly tribulation ended up being Jiang Qin's. And as the master who attracted this heavenly tribulation, Yin Chang'e was already sitting on the mountain peak, looking at Jiang Qin with a smile. Chapter 158. Just you wait. Jiang Qin was aggrieved. He could only use his own strength to fight against the heavenly tribulation. He did not want to use the ever-changing heavenly lamp in front of so many people. In this way, Jiang Qin would suffer a lot. It was one of the 10 major heavenly tribulations, and its power was explosive. Jiang Qin did not use any tricks and relied on his own strength to transcend the tribulation. In just half an hour, his entire body was scorched black. There was even a smell of barbecued meat. So fragrant, Yin Chang'e licked his lips and hurriedly shut up. It was because he saw Jiang Qin's murderous gaze. So miserable, he's about to be smashed. So miserable, so miserable. In the distance, a group of inner court disciples covered their eyes, not daring to continue watching. Jiang Qin's body was almost cracked and black smoke was coming out of his body. Even his mental strength was shattered, and his consciousness was about to blur. However, at the same time, Jiang Qin was surprised to find that the power of the seven-colored heavenly tribulation could actually erase the black energy in the depths of his soul. Although it was not much, it was effective. In this case, if I transcend a few more seven-colored heavenly tribulations, won't I be able to erase the black energy? Jiang Qin was excited, but after glancing at Yin Chang'e, the anger in his heart could not be vented. The seven-colored lightning continued to fall, and the entire sky was illuminated in 7 colors. The inner yard's disciples were all startled, and they all thought that Jiang Qin would probably die. After all, Jiang Qin looked too miserable at this moment. His entire body was pitch black and cracks had appeared on his body like a spider web. It looked like he was about to crack. His mental strength, and even the life aura emitted by his soul, were constantly weakening. This is a 7-colored heavenly tribulation. Not many people have been able to transcend it since ancient times. He's dead for sure. At the same time, not far away, the deans of the inner court, earth court, and sky court were also looking at Jiang Qin. These 3 people were also very nervous. Jiang Qin was the successor chosen by the divine spiritual one, and he was related to the future and hope of the 4 cardinal divine institutes. They revered the divine spiritual practitioners and obeyed the divine edicts given by the divine spiritual practitioners. Now, before they could see Jiang Qin's rise, it seemed that he was about to be struck to death by the 7-colored lightning. There's no way to help at all. The dean of the inner academy had a black face as he said, "If we were to take action, we would definitely be dragged into the heavenly tribulation. At that time, the might of the heavenly tribulation would be the same as our cultivation. It's all up to fate," the Earth School's principal replied with a bitter smile. "Don't tell me that we're going to fall before we've even risen to prominence." At the side, the dean of the heavenly court didn't say anything. His eyes flickered, as though he had another pair of eyes that could penetrate all things. He glared at Jiang Chun. A few breaths later, the chief of the heavenly court suddenly smiled and said, "This kid is really good at pretending." After saying that, the dean of the heavenly court turned around and left. "Big brother? Is he all right? Are you really okay?" The deans of the inner yard and earth yard also left. However, they still turned back to look at Jiang Chun, slightly worried. "He's fine." The dean of the heavenly court smiled and said, "He's just pretending. Even if the seven-colored thunderbolt is stronger, it won't kill him." "Why is that?" The dean of the inner yard was puzzled. "Maybe he's trying to hide his strength." The dean of the heavenly court said, "Who cares? He has his own thoughts. Don't interfere with him." At this moment, Jiang Chun was still undergoing the heavenly tribulation. The seven-colored heavenly tribulation seemed to be endless. Jiang Chun looked miserable, but in fact, the power of the undying bird Tao soul was surging in the depths of his body. He wasn't as badly injured as he looked on the surface. At the same time, Jiang Chun also felt that there seemed to be a slight change in his physical body. Previously, Jiang Chun had accidentally obtained the sacred body, which was the combination of the undying bird and the 9 serenity phoenix. This sacred body had never appeared before. Jiang Chun didn't know what the sacred body was used for or why it was so strong. Now, Jiang Chun could vaguely feel that the sacred body's recovery power was amazing. Not only did it have the nirvana power of the 9 serenity phoenix, but it also had the immortality power of the undying bird. However, this sacred body had just been awakened, and this power had not been fully activated. Perhaps it still needed to be continuously tempered before the power of this sacred body could be fully unleashed. Jiang Chun wondered whether he would really be immortal and indestructible when the sacred body's power was stimulated completely. The thunder was vast and mighty, and the seven-colored heavenly tribulation didn't disappear until half an hour later. At this moment, Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes and took a step forward. Like a stream of light flashing in the air, he went straight for Nian Chang'e. "What are you doing?" Nian Chang'e saw that the situation was not good and ran away immediately. However, Jiang Chun was furious. The power of heaven and earth exploded, and he used shrinking earth to an inch continuously. His speed reached the extreme. In just a few breaths' time, Jiang Chun caught up with Nian Chang'e, pressed him to the ground, and then beat him violently. "Stop, stop, stop! It hurts! It hurts!" Nian Chang'e begged for mercy and kept shouting in pain, but his eyes were flashing with a playful look. "You still dare to laugh?" Jiang Chun's face darkened. He sat on Nian Chang'e's back and said, "Next time, I'll—" Before Jiang Chun finished speaking, Nian Chang'e immediately shook his head and said, "There won't be a next time. I won't dare to do it again." "No." Jiang Chun also shook his head and asked, "Will there be any more heavenly tribulations next time?" As soon as he said this, Nian Chang'e was immediately dumbfounded. He looked at Jiang Chun with an odd expression, wondering to himself whether this guy had been struck dumb by lightning. "I'm asking you." Jiang Chun frowned. "Is there any more?" "Maybe," Nian Chang'e hurriedly said, but he was not sure. "Maybe when I break through, I can attract a heavenly tribulation." "Wait for you to break through?" Jiang Chun's face fell, and his mood instantly became bad. How long would it take for Nian Chang'e to break through again? Could it be that Jiang Chun had to stay in the lower level of the King realm and wait for Nian Chang'e to break through? At the thought of this, Jiang Chun was unhappy. He frowned and pondered carefully. Suddenly, he smiled and said, "It's okay. I'll help you attract thunder." "Huh?" Nian Chang'e was stunned, but before he could react, he felt that he was imprisoned by a horrible force of heaven and earth. "What are you doing?" Nian Chang'e exclaimed. Seeing Jiang Chun's playful eyes, he suddenly felt guilty. "Tribulation." Jiang Chun smiled. He condensed a talisman in his hand and slapped it into Nian Chang'e's body. In an instant, a violent aura came out of Nian Chang'e's body. Like a beam of light, it shot straight into the sky. Then, the heavenly tribulation that had disappeared appeared again. "Is it appropriate?" Nian Chang'e was confused. He wanted to summon the 36 lotuses to resist the heavenly tribulation. However, Jiang Chen joked, "Did it feel good to see me being struck by thunder?" "No, no," Nian Chang'e denied. "Are you not happy?" Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and smiled. "But if you were struck by thunder, I should feel very good." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen threw Nian Chang'e out, and it collided with the falling heavenly tribulation. Being imprisoned by Jiang Chen and unable to summon the 36 lotuses, Nian Chang'e was really struck by thunder. Chapter 159. Ah! Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, he fell from the sky. His entire body was emitting black smoke, and his limbs were twitching nonstop. "Does it feel good?" Jiang Chen asked with a smile. "How does it feel?" "Boss, I was wrong. I was wrong." Nian Chang'e begged for mercy with a bitter face. The feeling of being struck by the seven-colored thunderbolt was really not good. Not only was his physical body smashed, but even his mental strength and soul were implicated. If he was struck a few more times, he would really have to say goodbye to this world. "This is a little lesson for you. Let's see if you dare to provoke me again next time." Jiang Chen curled his lips. After releasing Nian Chang'e's shackles, he rose into the air and rushed towards the seven-colored heavenly tribulation. Next, the seven-colored heavenly tribulation fell and drowned Jiang Chen. Roars sounded one after another, and in the sky, there were brilliant lights. In the distance, a group of inner yard disciples was dumbfounded. He had just transcended the seven-colored heavenly tribulation. Why was he going to transcend it again? Twice in a row? Even peerless geniuses and monsters would not be able to endure it, right? The thunderbolts were like a rainstorm, densely packed and successively drowning Jiang Chen and Nian Chang'e together. Nian Chang'e majored in mental strength, and his physical body was slightly weak, so he didn't dare to fight head-on. Immediately, he summoned the 36 lotuses and fled. As for Jiang Chen, he was still transcending the tribulation, looking very miserable as before. This guy is really tough, transcending 2 tribulations in a day. What a monster! Everyone exclaimed, transcending 2 heavenly tribulations in a day. How monstrous was he that the heavens could send heavenly tribulations consecutively? Of course, they didn't know that the heavenly tribulation this time was attracted by Jiang Chen with the help of Nian Chang'e. And the previous heavenly tribulation was not Jiang Chen's own heavenly tribulation. When transcending the heavenly tribulation, Jiang Chen was also very puzzled. With his aptitude and strength, why didn't the heavenly tribulation fall when he broke through to the king realm? Could it be that his aptitude and talent were inferior to Nian Chang'e's? This was impossible, right? Who cares? Let's first obliterate the black energy in my soul, Jiang Chen said in his heart, pretending to be very miserable. He howled in grief while crossing the heavenly tribulation. Jiang Lu and the others were also among the group of inner court disciples. They looked at Jiang Chen with strange expressions, their hearts filled with disbelief. "Boss, is there a need to do this for a heavenly tribulation? Pretentious. He must be faking it," Jiang Chen and his group secretly thought. They kept rolling their eyes and looked at Jiang Chen with contempt. "Why are you trying to keep a low profile?" However, when they learned that Jiang Chen was safe and sound, Jiang Lu and the others were relieved. After the time it takes an incense stick to burn, the seven-colored heavenly tribulation faded away. Jiang Chen seemed to be seriously injured as he fell from the sky and staggered back into his immortal's cave. I'm afraid he can't hold on any longer. To undergo 2 heavenly tribulations in a row, even if he survives, he'll definitely be severely injured. His injuries are too severe. I'm afraid he won't make it. Everyone thought and sighed inwardly. It seemed that such a monstrous figure was going to die prematurely. However, as soon as Jiang Chen returned to his immortal's cave, he was full of energy. A layer of charred substance on his skin fell off, revealing tender skin that was like a baby's. It was flowing with luster and filled with divine light. Almost there, Jiang Chen looked inwardly at the black energy in the depths of his soul. He roughly estimated that it would be completely obliterated after one more heavenly tribulation. Originally, Jiang Chun would not stop and continue to undergo the heavenly tribulation. However, he felt that it was better to keep a low profile. Unfortunately, he did not know that although he was already so low-key in the eyes of others, he was extremely high profile. Of course, the most important point was that Nian Chang'e seemed to be worried that Jiang Chun would use him to trigger the heavenly tribulation again, so he had already run away. In that case, where could Jiang Chun find the catalyst for the heavenly tribulation buzz? Suddenly, Jiang Chun felt a roar coming from above his immortal's cave. At the same time, his soul began to palpitate. Jiang Chun was very familiar with this feeling. This was his own heavenly tribulation. The F*CK? Jiang Chun's face darkened. He felt that he couldn't keep a low profile anymore. He had already transcended 2 heavenly tribulations in a row. If he were to transcend a third time, wouldn't the inner court be in an uproar? Moreover, this heavenly tribulation was Jiang Chun's own. He couldn't avoid it. What is that? A pair of eyes. It was as black as ink. Is it ghost eyes? Red. At the same time, the group of inner court students in the distance exclaimed with shock. This was because the tribulation clouds were gathering above Jiang Chun's cave abode. Within the tribulation cloud, a pair of eyes that were pitch black like ink seemed to contain an aura of destruction as they looked down at the cave that Jiang Chun was in. Around those eyes, bewitching lotuses appeared one after another, burning with raging flames. This is the Red Lotus Hellfire Tribulation. No, it's the calamity of the pale eye. Some people had seen this kind of heavenly tribulation in some ancient books. At this moment, they were so shocked that they were speechless. Chapter 160. That's it. At this moment, Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. He blinked his eyes and was a little confused. How is my friend? He dissolved the heavenly tribulation for you. At this moment, Nian Chang'e walked over with a smile, as if he was here to take credit. Jiang Chun's face fell again when he heard that. You F*CKU. Jiang Chun couldn't help cursing. You're really my nemesis. Hey, what do you mean? That's the heavenly tribulation. I dissolved it for you. Isn't that good? Nian Chang'e shouted, hurry up and thank me. Thank your ass. Jiang Chun was furious. He formed a seal with both hands, and a talisman was immediately suppressed into Nian Chang'e's body. He was still shouting, give me back my heavenly tribulation. It's gone. I can't. Nian Chang'e cried. He didn't expect that he would help him out of kindness. It's really my bad luck to meet you in this life. Jiang Chun was angry. He formed a seal and activated the talisman. Instantly, Nian Chang'e exclaimed a few times because he felt that the 7-colored heavenly tribulation was coming again. Brother, what else can you do besides transcending the heavenly tribulation all day long? Nian Chang'e muttered, what happened to keeping a low profile? Take off your pants. You want me to stop? Hurry up. Transcend the heavenly tribulation. Jiang Chun said angrily. Boom. Not long after he said that, the 7-colored heavenly tribulation cloud appeared. Nian Chang'e was very decisive and escaped with the 36 lotus. However, Jiang Chun didn't try to dodge. He dashed forward directly. This time, Jiang Chun made up his mind to obliterate the black energy in his soul. Therefore, he rushed directly into the heavenly tribulation cloud. Is he courting death? This is the 4th heavenly tribulation? What a monster! A monstrous genius that was rarely seen throughout history, transcending 4 heavenly tribulations in a day. Everyone exclaimed and felt dizzy. Although they didn't know why the heavenly tribulation disappeared, it had appeared after all. As for the rainbow heavenly tribulation, Jiang Chun was going through it for the 3rd time. The sound of thunder was vast and mighty, and rainbow-colored light burst forth. The lightning was like clouds and mist, drifting in the air. Occasionally, they would transform into lightning snakes that burrowed into Jiang Chun's body, as if they wanted to swallow him up and tear him apart. Towards this, Jiang Chun was very indifferent, and his heart did not even waver. He stood in the tribulation cloud as if he was soaking in a hot spring. At the same time, the black energy in his soul was gradually disappearing, slowly being destroyed. After an incense stick of time, Jiang Chun had successfully crossed the seven-colored heavenly tribulation. The black energy within his soul had been completely obliterated. "I've finally succeeded," Jiang Chun was excited. After the black energy was destroyed, he could continue to cultivate. "At least this idiot is still somewhat useful," muttered Jiang Chun. His figure flashed as he returned to the cave. At this moment, the inner courtyard was in an uproar. In a single day, he had gone through 4 heavenly tribulations without dying. This was simply a miracle. That new disciple is too ferocious. 4 heavenly tribulations in a day, and he didn't die. I think the title of the #1 person in the inner yard is going to change hands. As everyone spread the news, more and more people knew about Jiang Chun, but they did not know his name. At the same time, there were people who were unconvinced, especially those in the inner yard who were ranked at the top. The new disciple has such strength? It's most likely an exaggeration. Looks like I have to find time to meet him and let him know how a new disciple should keep a low profile. In the inner yard, the top 10 disciples in terms of strength had a lot of opinions about Jiang Chun. At this moment, Jiang Chun did not know that because of him, he had already caused a storm in the inner yard. In fact, in such a short period of time, 3 battle invitations had already been placed at the entrance of Jiang Chun's cave abode. Creation Heaven Expanding Art. At this moment, Jiang Chun was focused on cultivating without any distractions. The Creation Heaven Expanding Art was activated, and the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth rushed into his body and turned into the purest power of heaven and earth. Then, the power of heaven and earth rushed into his soul and gathered continuously in Su Mi's spiritual world. Half a day later, a thumb-sized light spot formed in the spiritual world. Like a seed, it swallowed and spat out rays of light, and an endless stream of life force sprayed out from it. As the life force grew stronger, Jiang Chun could clearly feel that everything in his body was transforming. His mental strength, physical body, blood qi, they were all slowly strengthening. Although these changes were very weak and could almost be ignored, Jiang Chun was still very excited. As long as he nurtured this source of life and gradually grew stronger, the transformation effect would become more and more obvious, until he was like the creation master god in the past, transforming all the way and becoming stronger endlessly. The source of life has already formed. Next is to absorb the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth and slowly cultivate like before. Jiang Chun said softly, finally settling a huge matter in his heart. "Master, something happened to Jianglu." At this moment, Mo Xingtian's voice came from outside the cave with a hint of nervousness and worry. "What happened?" Jiang Chun stood up and walked out of the cave, only to find that Mo Xingtian was injured. One had to know that Jiang Chun had given the inheritance of the sunset demon god to Mo Xingtian. With his current strength, ordinary people could not do anything to him. In fact, even those so-called geniuses might not be a match for Mo Xingtian. Someone said that they wanted to teach you a lesson. We couldn't listen to them, so we attacked. Mo Xingtian said weakly, "But we couldn't beat them." Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment, then said coldly, "How embarrassing." With that, Jiang Chun stood up and walked towards the dojo in the inner yard. The Sifang divine houses had rules and did not restrict disciples from fighting. However, it had to be done within the dojo. When Jiang Chun arrived at the dojo, it was already packed with people. Looking around, he saw that Jianglu was fighting fiercely with a youth in the middle of the dojo. However, it seemed that Jianglu was about to lose. "There's a difference of a full major realm." Jiang Chun frowned. It was not that Jianglu was weak, but that his opponent was actually a low-level Exalt realm cultivator. Furthermore, it was a technique venerable. Jianglu's physical body was extremely strong. but his mental strength was extremely weak. If Jianglu could get close to the other party, he could win this battle. However, the technique, Venerable's movement technique, was brilliant, and he maintained a distance from Jianglu. As such, Jianglu could not get close and had to be attacked by all sorts of spells. No matter how strong his physical body was, he could not withstand it. The other party's cultivation is a major realm higher than ours. Even if we lose, it's not embarrassing, right? Mo Xingtian muttered. Not embarrassing? Jiang Chen said coldly. If we can't beat him, it's embarrassing. So what if there's a difference of a major realm? A true genius monster can still fight, even if it's a few major realms higher. At this point, Jiang Chen was also slightly cruel. During this period of time, many things had happened to him, and he did not have time to teach Jianglu and the rest. If he had taught them properly, Jianglu would not be weaker than them now. At the very least, this technique, Venerable, would definitely not be a match for Jianglu. Bang! At this moment, accompanied by a muffled sound, Jianglu was hit by a flame and was sent flying out of the dojo. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.